guys, Veggie Gamer back, and we're back to covering the Harry Potter books, VEGGIEKNIGHTS Chamber of Secrets episodes 8, 9 and 10, which is correct, yes. Really good ones, guys. Cannot wait to get to my notes on it. That isn't straight. But yes, guys, really enjoying this book. I think it's kind of obvious, but the book is clearly better than the movie. Now, that being said, obviously the movie is obviously limited with time and everything, but we have a great scene, which quite frankly, I would have loved to see on the big screen, which we'll be covering very soon. In fact, it's the title of the first chapter we'll be covering, but yeah, lots of notes on it, and like, you know, appearances of characters which I didn't expect to see so much in this book, but really awesome. Hope you're enjoying these videos, guys. They are getting longer and longer. I feel like this one might be slightly shorter, because I do need to be a little bit more succinct with things. Now, you guys have been saying that that you do appreciate the longer videos and you don't mind me waffling. I do think I was a bit too waffly last time, and so I will try and nip that in the bud for you now. But either way, one thing that some people have suggested, guys, and I will try to work out a way of doing it. A lot of you guys say that you really appreciate the book club, but you don't want to have to download the video onto your phone. So they're basically asking if there's like an audio version of it, which I can do, guys. I can work out exactly where the best place for that sort of thing will be. I don't know if I'll be able to put it onto iTunes just because of the music that I use in the background on the early ones. I don't have my original audio without that music in, if you know what I mean. But then again, you know, Skyrim, you know, Oblivion, and so on, those that copyrighted music has always been absolutely fine to use, you know, in my experience on YouTube. And so maybe we could do iTunes. I'll look into it. But either way, in the future, we will be starting to have these available for just audio somewhere. If that means that you'll be streaming or downloading it, I don't know, guys. But it sounds like a good idea. That's been suggested. That has been suggested on the Patreon, and so they will probably be going up on the Patreon first. But we'll work out how to do it perfectly there, guys, and then we'll put it out on the YouTube channel for free, as always. If you're new here, guys, we're covering the Harry Potter books, as you probably could guess from the title. And yes, these do go up on the Patreon first. And then a couple of videos down the line, they become available for free on YouTube. And so if you want to back the Patreon and get, you know, the book reviews that are getting posted on there first, you can do, guys. You can pledge as little as you want and get access to all the movie reactions and TV stuff that we do as well. You'll need your own copies of those things to sync up to, but obviously with the book reviews, you don't even need a copy of the book. I have a lot of people, in fact, yeah, of course, I should mention the book club. A lot of people are reading these books alongside the same pace that I am. So sorry it's taking me so long to get these out and everything, guys. And they are part of the Harry Potter book club, which basically means that you get the chance to have your comments read out in these videos, guys. So after we covered the chapters today, I'll be going through the book club and go through your comments and your thoughts and your opinions and your questions about these chapters. And so yes, be a part of being, you know, being able to be a part of the video if you so wish. And so that is another benefit of joining the Patreon. Never like you need to, guys. This stuff will all be coming for free on the YouTube channel, as always. And if you leave a comment on the YouTube channel, I will still have read it, guys. You know, not on the video, obviously, but I will have still read it. So you can still be a part of the conversation. So don't feel like that's kind of price wall. Because I know a lot of people can't afford the Patreon in this, you know, current climate and everything, guys. And so it's absolutely fine. You just being a part of this conversation in this community when these videos get posted on YouTube is hugely appreciated as well. Enough waffle. Don't think I've got anything else to say. I said about the Patreon. I said about the audio versions. Yeah, let's get straight into it, guys. Let's attempt to make this video slightly shorter than the previous ones. Let's get into episode 8. One more thing which I should mention. So sorry, guys. If you're watching this, guys, we have started covering Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the Patreon as well. I'm not exactly sure how the YouTube edits are going to work for that, but at the moment, the full-length versions are going up on the Patreon. And so if you're a big fan of that and have your own copy of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you can check out those if you so wish. greatly enjoying that series. I've said it before, but no, you know, just go check out the series. Guess who my favourite character is so far? It is. Just guess. Anyway, let's get on with chapter 8 of the Chamber of Secrets. I don't like this. I don't. This cover is strange to me, guys. I don't know why. I think it's because Harry and Ron kind of look very similar in it. The rest of it's awesome. I'm not criticising the artist. The artist is clearly very talented. It looks amazing. Either way, Chapter 8, Death Day Party. Let's go! Sorry for shouting. Okay, so as always, guys, I've written up a summarization of the chapter, and then we'll go into my notes afterwards, but this is Chapter 8, A Death Day Party. It's rainy season at Hogwarts, and after particularly wet Quidditch practice, Harry spots Sir Nicholas looking dishevelled. He tells Harry how he's been turned down for the headless hunt again. I'm not sure if it's again, but I think it is again. Miss Norris arrives and is shortly followed by Filch, who marches Harry to his office for making the mess. I should say Harry is covered in dirt and rain at this point. Whilst trying to fill in a complaint form about Harry, there is a sudden crash and Filch goes rushing out of the room. Whilst waiting for him to return, Harry spots a letter on Filch's desk, which is from a business called Quickspell. Filch returns and spots Harry, maybe having read his letter, and in anger and embarrassment tells Harry to go. We'll discuss that scene, guys, because I thought it was awesome. So Nicholas tells Harry how he got Peeves to push over a cabinet in the hopes that Filch would pardon Harry. He invites Harry, Ron, and Hermione to his 300th Death Day party. Come Halloween, the day of the party, and the three make their way to the party. After realising that there is no food for the living, they are approached by Peeves, who calls over moaning Myrtle, whom Hermione had said she didn't want to talk to. Hermione tries to pretend that she was saying that how nice Myrtle was looking, but Myrtle doesn't believe her. Peeves then makes her burst into tears and leave the party. Poor moaning Myrtle. Sir Patrick arrives, interrupting Sir Nicholas's speech, and Harry, Hermione and Ron quietly leave. On their way to the Halloween feast, Harry hears the strange voice again. He and the others follow it to a corridor where they find Mrs. Norris petrified next to a message painted on the wall. The Chamber of Secrets has opened. Enemies of the air beware. They hear a crowd from the feast leaving the Great Hall. Now, I'm going to go out on a little... You know what, guys? Of all the scenes that are in the book, Chamber of Secrets, up till now, but not in the movie, I bet, now correct me if I'm wrong, guys, so far, obviously, because we haven't finished this book, but so far I feel like this Death Day party is the scene which most of you guys would want to have been in the movie, because quite frankly, it's awesome, guys. The description of it is brilliant. We'll cover that obviously soon. But this chapter, obviously, it really... Because in the movie, which we went into last time, Gilderoy lets Harry go from detention, and on his way back, he meets up with Ron and Hermione, who then followed the voice to the corridor. So 99% of this chapter isn't in the movie, guys. Now, obviously, again, with the limitations on time and everything, you know, you can't have everything in. But this scene would have been cool to see. Imagine if eventually they did an animation of Harry Potter and they did all the book stuff. Like the reverse of, like, because I haven't seen them, but I know with Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, which we will be covering in book clubs in the future, there were animations, I think, from the 70s of them, and obviously then, like, 3 decades later, we got the movies. Maybe, like, in a couple of decades, we'll get, like, an animated version of the Harry Potter series. Because I want to see this scene. Anyway, let's get through the notes. So, very interesting, it says that, you know, because it's rainy season, the students are getting colds, and Madame Pomfrey has this elixir, which is super effective, but it does make I think smoke come out of the ears, which did instantly make me think of Prisoner of Azkaban, where Harry and his mates are trying all these crazy sweets, and like, you know, one of them like makes like steam come flying out of Harry's ears. That's not quite the same, but it did make me think of that. But yeah, it does make me question, because I've gone into this before, how Slughorn's reaction to Hermione in the movie, of course, because I haven't read the book yet, saying that her parents are dentists. And not really understanding what that is. I did suspect that maybe wizards and witches, because, you know, because Harry can cut his own hair, essentially, or make it, you know, the right length and everything. Well, I don't know, I've got my notebook out. I assumed that sort of thing was subconsciously controlled by magic. So Harry didn't understand how, but he was making his hair a certain length and everything. I assumed that maybe that would stop wizards from getting things like toothache and fillings and everything. Hence why Slughorn doesn't really understand what a dentist would do and asks if it's dangerous and everything. But we hear here that students get colds, which in my headcanon, which is now blown to pieces, I wouldn't have thought would have been a thing. I would have thought that the common cold and everything would just be something which was subconsciously just cured, you know, pushed out of the body by wizards and witches. But no, apparently, you know, loads of students are getting the cold, including Ginny. We hear some more about Ginny, and it says that she's been forced. I think it actually said that Ginny was bullied into using Bonnet Pomfrey's medicine by Percy. There's a couple of bits that we'll be covering with Percy today, guys, which I really, really like, especially in chapter 10, actually. But yeah, it's really nice that Percy... I think that I got the impression from Percy from the movie that he's... Oh, this is going to sound really harsh, guys. That he is the least... how can I put this politely? Family-orientated member of the Weasley? He has ambitions outside of his family, I guess is one way of putting it. And so I thought that I would have expected Fred and George, and Ron in fact, to be more on at Ginny about taking his medicine. But it's really nice that Percy is taking that big brother role, because he's the oldest Weasley at Hogwarts at the moment. So we'll go into the other stuff that he does in these chapters later on, and I really like that. It's at the end of chapter 10, I believe. No, it's not. It's actually no, it's at the end of the next chapter, chapter 9. Babadoo. Hagrid's pumpkins are doing awesome because of the rain. Apparently, they're becoming absolutely huge. In fact, it says that 3 people could stand inside a carved one later on in this chapter, which is good for Hagrid. Fred and George have been spying on Slytherin, which is very unkosher, guys. I mean, considering what Wood was saying about Colin being in the crowd. Because he was the only one there. It's not really... Can it be a crowd if there's only one person? I guess not. On the stand at the Quidditch Stadium, saying that he doesn't want Colin there because he could be a spy. Does Wood know that Fred and... You'd imagine that he knows that Fred and George are spying on Slytherin. I do think that it may be retaliation, maybe because of what happened with Hermione, but I think more because of the Nimbus 2001s. Because later on we hear from Wood, and he's freaking passionate about beating Slytherin for that specific reason that Draco has brought his way into the team and given them all these brooms. Will I ever stop calling brooms wands, guys? I don't think it'll ever happen. Actually, that'd be quite cool. Oh no, because I was going to say that Hagrid's wand is an umbrella, but that's to hide it, isn't it? Whereas Lucius is his walking stick. Do you reckon that no? Because that'd be huge, Veggie. What are you talking about? Now, what I'm saying is it would be cool if someone was to literally have a wand which was a broom, but that would be so impractical. Ignore me, guys. Anyway. Oh yeah, Sir Nicholas says about how, because he's reading his letter saying that he can't be a part of the hunt again, and he says how he more than anyone wanted that, you know, the cut through his head to go smoothly, because it took like 45 axe blows to finally cut it, that's horrible, guys. That's really horrible. And he says that it would have saved me a lot of pain and ridicule. So that's so bad, guys. I'm hoping that's mostly in Nick's head. The fact that he feels ashamed for not having a headless hand, a headless body, I guess you should say. Rather than other ghosts actually mocking him for it. Although we do get a bit of that with Patrick later on. But yeah, it's so sad that it says it would have saved me a lot of pain and ridicule. The fact that ridicule would be anywhere near the same, you know, mention level as the pain. It's just heartbreaking. Poor Nick. It is sad. We do hear some more about the Headless Hunt, guys. And clearly I've got this screw with. Because I think even since... No, it wasn't. I was going to say that it was ever since I watched Stone, but it wasn't. It's when we see the Headless Hunt actually going through Hogwarts. What movie was that? I don't think it was Chamber. I feel like it was a lot later. Yeah, there's a movie where we actually see the Headless Hunt going through the school. And it's clear that, you know, one of the riders is holding someone else's head, I think. And I assumed that the Headless Hunt was a game, specifically called The Headless Hunt, where you need to head for the head, hunt for the head, and then get away from everyone else, or maybe it's, you know, deliver it to a checkpoint or something like that. But no, the Headless Hunt appears to be a group which Nick wants to join, because we hear about hunt activities including horseback head juggling and headless polo. And so the Headless Hunt, as I had it in my head, since pardon me, that cough was just for you audio listeners, once I've worked out how to make this an audio podcast as well. I think that once we saw the Headless Hunt going through the the Great Hall, it's during an important scene. I can't think what it is, but it's certainly not in the Chamber of Secrets. It's later on, I'm sure. It's probably Prisoner of Azkaban. I think it is actually Prisoner of Azkaban. I assumed that they were playing the Headless Hunt, but no, the Headless Hunt appears to be like a club, which is headed by, ironically, by Sir Patrick, who we meet later on. So yes, we hear about Patrick Delaney Podmore, who is the guy who's turning Nick down. And to be fair, he's right too. I mean, I do feel sorry for Nick, but there is literally no way that he would be able to do the tasks. So it's kind of heartbreaking that he really wants to be a part of this thing, but he just absolutely does not qualify. He just doesn't qualify. He qualifies as much as like the Fat Friar would, you know, because he's not headless even. You know, Nick isn't headless. He's nearly headless. And so you'd imagine that he would probably hate the nickname Nearly Headless Nick. I think that it did bother him a little bit in Philosopher's Stone. In the book. In the movie it didn't bother him at all, but in the book I do feel like he was like a little bit, alright, I'll show you, sort of thing, which is obviously horrible. But yes, really nice to hear this, but more information about Nick here. So Filch isn't feeling well either. He's had to just clean off some frog brains that are on the ceiling of Dungeon 5, which is disgusting. Oh yeah, it describes Mrs. Norris as being a skeletal grey cat. So obviously that's a big difference in the look when it comes to the movie. I thought that Mrs. Norris was absolutely gorgeous in the movie, and so I'm absolutely fine with that decision. But yeah, skeletal grey cat is certainly not what we have in the movie. And we see Filch's office, which is awesome, guys. And this fills in the blanks from earlier on. You know, obviously in the movie we have, you know, the quick spell card. It is, isn't it? On the floor in Snape's office. Which didn't bother me at the time, but now I've had it explained in this way. That is a little bit convenient, I guess. The fact that he dropped the card and then... But that's the thing, though. we'll get to it when we get to it, guys. But in the book, Filch being angry at Harry after what's happened to Mrs. Norris does feel like it makes more sense, because it almost feels like he thinks that Harry is potentially getting revenge on him. Maybe? But yeah, in the movie, it's just like this little scene where, like, I'm dyslexic, guys, so I struggle reading, hence why I'm listening to the wonderful audiobooks by Jim Dale and Stephen Fry for these videos. They are wonderful. I can actually see myself listening to them time and time again in the future. Actually, they are actually really great. But yeah, my dyslexia is bad, guys. And so when something pops up on screen for like a few seconds and it has some writing on it, I'm not going to be able to read it. And so I kind of need the movie to explain what's going on. And once Filch puts the card away and looks embarrassed, that's the last you ever hear about it, obviously, the quick spell stuff. And so that was something which a lot of you guys had to fill me in saying, oh, that, by the way, that's what was on that card. So thank you very much for that, back during the movie reactions. But here we have an absolute explanation of quick spell and what that is. It actually says that it's for unskilled wizards. And now that's strange to me, guys, because Filch isn't. Are squibs wizards? I guess biologically they would be, right? But in the wizarding world, particularly in Slytherin's eyes, they wouldn't be. Which does make it interesting how Snape and Filch seem to kind of get along. I think it's because of their, resentment of Harry. Resentment breaking down barriers, guys. You gotta love it. But yes, we hear testimonials, which are absolutely amazing. One by DJ Prod. Well, it's such an interesting name, guys. I kind of had to look it up. It says that his wife would dismiss his some sort of magical skills until he turned her into a yak, which is lovely. Now, DJ Prod is such an interesting name, guys. I needed to actually look it up, which is fine because I've watched the movies now, so it's not going to be any massive spoilers. I was a little bit careful, and I think it says that his name is Dementius J. Prod. And one of the notes on his Potter wiki page is that there's a photo of him in Half-Blood Prince, the movie, which is bizarre. I'm going to have to re-watch the movie, guys, because I cannot imagine when that is. But yes, apparently this character, who was written a testimonial for Quickspell, is technically in the movie. So there you go. Yeah, that's very interesting. So I'll be listening out for his name in the books in the future, because I presume he might come up again. Maybe in this, small way. Filch has some power over Peeves and students. Now, this surprised me, guys, because I think that... does Filch take points off Harry? I don't think he does, but it certainly sounds like Peeves can actually get Harry expelled if he I mean, I've got the wrong one to stick, guys, but it certainly made it feel like Filch has more power than I thought he did, particularly over Peeves as well. He says that finally he's going to get Peeves out of here once he hears that massive smashing noise from the cabinet. I've written down here, guys, why is Peeves there? Because with the ghosts, you'd expect, this is my assumption, that all the ghosts there were past students of Hogwarts, maybe like head boys and girls and everything. I don't even know if they have head girls at Hogwarts, do they? I've certainly never heard of a head girl, I don't think. Unless Lily was head girl. I think she may have been. I can't remember. By the way, I am watching the scenes from the movie before doing the chapters now, guys, because I know that in the past, I think, particularly at the start of Chamber of Secrets, I was really struggling to remember stuff. So when I cover the chapters, I am rewatching that section of the movie, which is fine. It takes seconds. It really does. It's very, very quick. And so I am going to be more on the ball with that. But yes, dooba-dooba-dooba. But yeah, why is Peeves there? Because it sounds like Filch has the political power to get Peeves in enough trouble where he's going to get turfed out, which means that he can be turfed out. Or exorcised, I guess it would technically be, although he's not a ghost. And so yeah, I do wonder, because he's not someone who used to be alive, unless it's like werewolves and vampires, which I certainly don't think it is, guys. Peeves is a poltergeist, and presumably he was created or born a poltergeist. And so why is he there? I don't know. Maybe it's explained. Maybe it's obvious. Maybe I've completely missed something, guys. Maybe it's something to do with poltergeist as a thing, but it does make me interested. Maybe he has got a further on, which is going to be explained down in the books. But if it isn't, give me your theories, guys. I'd love to see why you think that, why Peeves is actually there and allowed to, do what he does. Gotta get through these notes. So yes, it was Nick asked Peeves to push the cabinet over, because I didn't think that maybe it was Nick doing it, but obviously Nick wouldn't be able to do that. Oh, I've got the four. Oh, that's right. So when Filch comes back into the to his office and spies that Harry may have been reading his letter from Quickspell, says that it's for a friend, which is very interesting. I think that is a lie, but the fact why you squib someone who literally cannot use magic, it's very sad, guys. I find Filch, I've said this countless times, but I find Filch a fascinating character, guys. I really do. And maybe it's just desperation, It's much like Nick writing, it really is actually, it's much like Nick writing to Patrick asking to be allowed to join the Headless Hunt. I think Nick knows he's not going to be able to do it because he is not headless, and maybe that's the same philosophy that Filch has here, where he's gonna try and learn magic, but deep down he knows he's not going to be able to. And so his reaction to seeing Harry may have read his letter, which he did read his blooming letter, he is like distraught and embarrassed. He's like really embarrassed by it. So very interesting reaction. I loved this, guys. I really did. I'm not surprised that it was cut down from the movie, because making that connection between Harry reading his mail and Harry then doing what Filch thinks he's done to Mrs. Norris is a bit of a stretch, and so I'm not surprised this got cut. But anything else with Filch, and I really like. I really do, as you probably have worked out by now. Doobie quack quack. So yes, speed forward to Halloween, and that is the night of the 500th death day. Sorry, not 300th. I think I said 300 in my intro, didn't I? Sorry about that, guys. Now, I don't think that Halloween is mentioned at all in Chamber of Secrets, but no, this is like 1 year on from the troll incident. Halloween is... I'm going to be interested to see if Halloween continues to be a significant date in these books, guys, because it's much like the dark arts situation right now, where, each dark arts teacher, something bad happens to them and everything, whereas here, something seems to happen at Halloween each year. I don't think it's even suggested that that Mrs. Norris is found on Halloween in the movie at all, because it's certainly, unless Hermione and Ron say about it when they meet up with Harry, saying why aren't you at the feast or something. Maybe it does. Again, guys, even whilst I'm rewatching these movies, I can't remember every line. But yeah, I don't think it's ever mentioned that it's Halloween. So yeah, I question if maybe that is going to be an ongoing thing, with Halloween just being a very unlucky night for these students. It's at the same time as the feast, where obviously what happened last year happened. And it does feel like, much in the way that Gilderoy is really resentful of Harry's celebrity, but at the same time wanting to be... Oh no, I've just remembered, guys. Someone on the Patreon sent me this wonderful picture. In fact, I got it on my desktop here. When Harry was forced into taking a picture with Gilderoy, and then we see... In the book this is, and it describes how in the magical animated photograph, Harry is basically pulling his way out of out of shot, and then Gilderoy's like exhausted by trying to pull him back in, and everything, which is just amazing. I would have loved to see that in the movie. Someone sent me this great picture from I guess it's just a promotional picture of Gilderoy and Harry from the movie, and Harry's not trying to get away, but Harry's face is like that, and Gilderoy's doing that cheesy smile. It's a great picture, guys, so it'll be there, hopefully, if I remember to edit it in. Oh my goodness, I better do. But yeah, I loved that. That was actually really sweet. Thank you very much. I think it was, yes, it was Kat who sent me that. Thank you very much. She basically said how this is the closest thing that we'll get to seeing that image in real life, and it really is, actually. You can kind of see Harry kind of wanting out on that photograph. But yeah, going back to what I'm saying, though, about Lockhart, is that despite the fact that he is clearly resentful and basically puts Harry through the mill later on, humiliating him, he does still want to milk off his celebrity somewhat, or skim off his celebrity, I think is the better term. I feel like that's what Nick's doing here as well. You have this, famous Harry Potter, and Nick is like saying, if I can get Harry to come along to my party and tell Patrick that he finds me terrifying, then maybe I don't think, maybe he thinks it's going to be his shortcut into Headless Hunt, which unfortunate term there, but yes, but maybe he is just trying. It does feel like to me that Nick is trying to, like I say, skim off the celebrity of Harry for his own means. And so Nick's clearly a great character and a lovely guy, but I do feel like he is much like Gilderoy there. So that's an interesting thing. And the fact that Harry doesn't pick up on that, because obviously Harry's picking up on that all the time with Lockhart. Either way. Yes, he tells Harry that to tell Patrick how scary he finds Nicholas, which obviously doesn't go very well. I feel like I've missed a few notes here. Yes, I have. I'm sorry, guys. So inside Filch's office, there's like files for every single student who's ever broken a rule at Hogwarts and everything. And apparently, Fred and George have like a filing cabinet to themselves, which is amazing. We hear some more about chains and manacles, which we heard in the first book, how students used to be hung, I think, upside down in manacles from the ceilings, which is obviously very Umbridge. And how Filch wants that to return. Well, we see the manacles here. Yes, I'm sorry, guys. I missed a few notes. And Filch says how the mess that Harry made with the mud and the water is going to take Filch an hour to clean up. Which does make you think, well, why wouldn't Hogwarts have a magical caretaker? Because then it'd be able to clean it up in a couple of seconds. I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to stop recording real quickly. So yeah, how magic would be able to solve that problem really, really quickly if Filch was able to do it. But the fact that it's going to take Filch an hour to clean up some mud and some water. Interesting. It just adds a little bit more depth to Filch's character, especially with what's going to be coming up in a chapter soon. So now I'm going back to where we were. I'm so sorry about getting lost here, guys. So yeah, whilst Harry, Ron, and Hermione are back in the Gryffindor house, we hear about Fred and George with a flaming salamander, which I guess they stole or rescued, or however you want to put it, from a class called a Care of Magical Creatures class, which I'm pretty certain we have never heard of before, guys. I have no idea who would run that. You'd imagine it'd probably be the same person who runs the Mythical Beast class, or whatever that's called, which was Quirrell's job, right? And then Hagrid does it in Azkaban the movie as well. Yeah, whatever that class was, you'd imagine maybe would be, or maybe that was the class that they were doing, but I don't think I've ever heard it referred to as a Care of Magical Creatures class. Specifically the care of them. Not training or anything. But yeah, they stole that from there, or, like I say, rescued. I'm not sure which one it would be. And yeah, Harry is going to tell Ron and Hermione about Filch's letter, but doesn't. He gets interrupted by events. But that is so book Harry. Because Filch basically orders Harry to promise him that he's not going to tell anyone about the letter. He's really embarrassed by it. And movie Harry, upon that sort of situation, wouldn't tell anyone else. But book Harry absolutely would. And so that's why there's such different characters, guys. I think I mentioned this before, so I'll keep it brief. But I think it was during Prisoner of Azkaban when Harry finds out about Sirius being his godfather, I believe it was. And I think even like I said, I didn't expect Harry to have such an interesting character. I do feel that is because of the first two movies, which now going to books has kind of taken his character out of his character. And so yeah, the fact that Harry was going to tell Ron and Hermione after promising that he wouldn't about Filch is definitely a book Harry thing, but you know, movie Harry, butter wouldn't melt, whatever that term means. So yes, we hear about that there's a rumor around students that Dumbledore has booked some dancing skeletons for the Halloween feast, which would have been amazing to see. We then get to the Death Day party, and there's waltzing ghosts and everything. It's freezing cold in there. There's like a bunch of nuns in there. A man with chains. The Fat Friar is there, talking to a knight with an arrow in his forehead. Lovely to hear from Fat Friar, of course, my rep. And yes, like, it's not just Peeves. It seems to be all the other ghosts seem to really be terrified of the Bloody Baron, who we only just gets mentioned very briefly here. I hope that in the future books he gets a little bit more, maybe later on in this book. But whenever he's mentioned, is basically goes along with the fact that everyone seems to be scared of him, like Draco and Peeves. And we hear here that even all the other ghosts are like giving him a wide berth and everything. He's obviously a lovely character. So yes, Moaning Myrtle. This is the introduction of Moaning Myrtle, guys, which I do prefer this introduction to it because it kind of makes... I don't want to say it's convenient, but in the movie it kind of is convenient that it seems that happens to be... That's where we meet Myrtle, and, you know, that's where events obviously take place and everything. Whereas here, Myrtle, she isn't in the bathroom, she's actually at the party. Hermione being very book Hermione. Oh no, well, I say book Hermione. I mean, she says about Moaning Myrtle in the movie as well. Basically saying that she doesn't want to talk to Myrtle. Which is kind of... It's very interesting hearing these lines from Hermione, guys. Because we also get it in the movies later on in Half-Blood... No, it's not Half-Blood Prince, it's Order of the Phoenix. When they get onto the cart and Luna Lovegood is there. It's her introduction. And Hermione introduces her by saying, everyone, this is Luna Lovegood. So it's very interesting that, for one, we hear like the female perspective of Hogwarts. The fact that Hermione would know about Luna. Be more likely to know about Luna because, you know, she's a fellow girl. And obviously with Myrtle here as well is something which, you know, the boys really wouldn't have heard about at all. But it's also interesting to hear this slightly... No, it's not slightly, it is rude. A ruder Hermione. Now, when I say rude, guys, I mean rude, you know, meaning literally the same as anyone her age. I'm not judging her at all. But the fact that we have this thing where she's saying, oh god, I don't want to talk with Moaning Myrtle. And then we obviously have the Loony Lovegood as well. The fact that she does have this side of her, and she's clearly ashamed of it as well, because obviously, you know, her face when she says Loony, she's like, oh, Luna Lovegood. And here, where Bloomin' Peeves calls Myrtle over later on, and Hermione's like distraught and trying to backtrack and saying that she just looks lovely and everything. So yeah, this was a really good introduction to Myrtle being at this point. And yes, the toilets are out of order because they've been out of order this entire year because of Myrtle, whereas the previous year they were open. And Hermione said it's terrible to try and have a pee while with her wailing at you. What a line! What a line! And yeah, the food is off, guys. And this is very, I'm glad they explained it, because Hermione's very smart, guys, because I certainly didn't work this out. They go over to the buffet to try and get something to eat, and then it turns out that it's all like rotting and disgusting and everything. And like it's a big cake with 1492 on it, like Death Day 942 on it. And Hermione very intelligently says maybe that they let it rot, so the chances of ghosts being able to taste it as they fly through it, that's how they do it, would be slightly increased. And Harry says, are you able to taste it whilst this ghost flies through the food with his mouth over? And the ghost says almost. It's very sad. It really is. But yeah, Hermione working that, that's really smart, guys. I didn't work that out at all. So yes, Peeves was presumably invited, or maybe not. I guess probably not, thinking about it. But Peeves is at least at the party. He's like wearing a party hat and everything like that. Yeah, he probably wasn't invited. now that I think about it. And yeah, at first I thought he was actually reprimanding Hermione for saying what she did about Myrtle, but he isn't, guys. He's just being a tinker and calls Myrtle over and basically gets Hermione, tries to get Hermione to say what she was saying about her. That doesn't go well. Hermione lies about what she is saying, and Myrtle doesn't buy any of it. And then Peeves says, "Oh, what is it? Blah 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 blah." Peeves says something really horrible. Pimply Myrtle. And Myrtle goes flying out as Peeves like throws stuff at her as she leaves. Very sad. I've got here, can ghosts use transport? Because it sounds like, well, there's ghosts from all around the country here, but not the world. So maybe that ghosts legit had go across hills and everything to get to where they're going. I can't remember what it says, but I think it said that someone came from Dorset or so. But yeah, that was just like a stupid little note. Oh yeah, and someone uses the term livens. I'm not sure who that is, guys, but I got it down here that someone refers to the living as livens. It may have been Patrick. It may have been Patrick, because at this point Patrick has come in and he's basically clearly like a flash character. He basically absorbs attention from the room and everything, and really kind of humiliates Nick. He really does. And yeah, Harry very inconveniently says, "Oh, by the way, I find Nick really scary." And instantly, Patrick is like, "I bet you told you to say that." Really sad. They start then playing head hockey as Nick is trying to give his speech, and everyone just turns away from the speech to watch the head hockey. Very sad, guys. It's very disheartening for Nick. And Harry hears the voices again. They're going off towards the feast, hoping to get there in time for dessert. And they go chasing after the voice, go to the corridor where they hear it, and Mrs. Norris is there, petrified with the writing on the wall. That being on Halloween, guys, which again, I don't think it mentioned that it was Halloween in the movie, but it may have done. I feel like all those scenes are very, very short in the movie, and so it may have mentioned it, but it may have just been like a throwaway line. And yeah, then Draco says you'll be next Mudbloods, which I thought was a book exclusive, but he does say that in the movie as well. So awesome chapter, guys. The Death Day party was a treat. More information about Nick was just sweet. Very sad. This is really Nick and Filch's chapter, and it does kind of feel like that's done on purpose. The fact that Nick wants to be a part of this group, which he never can be because he's not headless. And Filch wanting to be a part of the magical world, which unfortunately for him, he can never be a part of as well. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that Nick and Filch are actually, weirdly, I never would have thought I'd said this before reading this chapter, guys, but they are very similar characters in that regard. Now let's get on to number 9, the writing on the wall. One extra little thing before I do the description of chapter 9, the writing on the wall. Very interesting that the school in general, or the students in general, don't know that Filch is a squib. Very interesting, because obviously in the movies later on we get a couple. In fact, Draco does it as well. We got 2 Slytherins calling him a filthy squib. But yeah, at this point, it seems like all the students don't actually know that. The teachers certainly seem to. I mean, obviously they would do. But you'd imagine that magic-born families would, the students from there would at least notice that Filch isn't using magic. Anyway, interesting little detail that I thought I'd quickly just pop in there. The writing on the wall. Filch arrives at the scene to see his pet cat frozen. He instantly jumps to the conclusion that it's Harry's fault. Dumbledore calms him down and calms down the situation before leading Filch, Harry, Hermione, McGonagall, Snape, and Lockhart to Lockhart's office, which Lockhart is very proud of. Filch again accuses Harry of writing the message on the wall, and that Harry knows that Filch is a squib. Snape questions why they were in the corridor at all, and Harry lies, saying that they were on their way back to the Gryffindor Tower. They are let go, and while on the way back, Ron tells Harry that hearing voices is bad, even for the Wizarding world. He also explains what a squib is as well, which we'll go into his reaction to that. What happened that night is now the talk of the school, and Harry notices Justin giving him a wide berth. Hermione wants to take out a Hogwarts history. Is that what it's called? A Hogwarts history? Yes, Hogwarts history from the library. No, Hogwarts A history. The History of Hogwarts book. But every copy has been taken out with a two-week waiting list. In Professor Binns' history class, loved this scene, but I can understand why they changed it. We'll go into it in a moment. Hermione surprises everyone by asking about the Chamber of Secrets. Binns is reluctant to discuss myths and goes over the basic history of the founding of Hogwarts and how Slytherin were pushed out because of their beliefs on Muggleborns, sorry. I apologise for that. Muggleborns shouldn't be welcome. And that there is a rumour that in the castle there is a secret room where a creature that can only be controlled by the heir of Slytherin is kept. Later the three find themselves in the same corridor where Mrs. Norris was found. They search the area, finding scorch marks, as well as several spiders trying to get through a crack in a window. Wondering where the water that had previously been on the floor came from, Hermione leads Harry and Ron into the girls' bathroom that is there, where Myrtle stays. As they leave, Percy spies them and gives Ron an earful before threatening to write home to their mother if he doesn't stop the detective work. That night, Hermione comes up with a plan to infiltrate the Slytherin dorm to try and catch Draco admitting guilt about what had happened. So like I say, guys, some big changes here. I can see why they made them, but we'll go into it when we go into it. So, the chapter continues straight off the previous one, which I think is the first time in this book. I'm pretty sure that so far in Chamber of Secrets, it's like either been the next day or at least some time has passed between chapters. But no, this is, I think, the first chapter which just flows straight on in this book at least. And Filch threatens to kill Harry, which he does do in the movie as well. I wasn't sure, but I have rechecked that, and he does actually say that he's going to kill him. Obviously not literally. It's it's something that it's a saying. Much like if you've seen 12 Angry Men, when someone says I'm going to kill you, it doesn't technically mean I'm going to kill you. 12 Angry Men, guys, the original black and white movie is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. It's great. I watched it a couple of years ago. Not on the channel, unfortunately. I didn't do all reactions before I was doing reactions, but it is a fantastic movie. I want to make sure I tell you to watch the correct version, because I know there's a TV special that was made as well. 12 Angry Men. When was the famous movie version? 1957. Now, I believe the year before, there was a TV special, which is very good as well. But I highly recommend the 1957 12 Angry Men, starring Henry Fonda. It's brilliant. It really is good, guys. I think it's phenomenal. It knocked my socks off when I watched it. But yes, there's something about in there about when someone says I'm going to kill you, it doesn't actually mean that they are actually going to kill them. So obviously that's what Filch is saying here. Lockhart is like really eager to say, yeah, let's have the meeting in my office, as if that makes him somehow grander. This is the thing. A lot of his grandeur is delusional, and the fact that having this meeting in his room makes it more about him. It's just amazing. And as they go in, like, apparently all the photos of him on the wall are, like, hiding around because they've all got, like, rollers in their hair. And there's, like, one who's actually forgot to, like, left his hair on and everything, which is just amazing. I really, really love that. So, yeah, again, we have Filch, accusing Harry of doing the writing. And I didn't make this connection at the time because I was thinking just more about the cats, but he's thinking about what the wording actually said and the fact that him as a squib. That's very interesting. I've never thought about this before. I've said before, in fact, earlier on in this video, I said about how Snape and Filch, it's kind of strange that they'd get on because surely squibs would be at least looked down a bit by Slytherin. Looked down on, not like, ostracized like Muggleborn. I nearly said it again then. But Filch's assumption there would highly suggest that, those type of Slytherins, let's put it that way, because I know a lot of you guys are Slytherin and you wouldn't think this for a second, but those kind of Slytherin would really look down on squibs and even include them, because that's the thing, the message says enemies of the air, and according to Filch's reaction, that would include squibs. I've never thought about that before, but that is very interesting. This is the thing. I think it's because I watched the movie first, and I just assumed that Filch is just purely thinking about Mrs. Norris and the fact that Harry was right there. But no, he is making the connection because of what happened in his office and the writing on the wall, specifically what the writing says. That's very interesting. The fact that squibs will be considered an enemy of the air as well. So it's not about birthright or anything like that. It's not about bloodlines. It's just about the ability to use magic. Either way. Imagine if Filch's parents were Slytherin. I really like Filch, guys. And I think that ever since my first... I think I said in my... No, I didn't think I said it in the first reaction. But soon after, I started to say how I really liked Filch in the movies. And these books are just making me like him even more, guys. Genuinely. Either way. Harry thinks that Snape is smirking. And I think that there is a thing of... I'm not 100% sure if Snape is actually smiling in this situation. Because I think that a lot of Harry's thoughts about Snape might actually just be in his head. Maybe. But yeah, Harry thinks that Snape is trying not to smile, essentially. And yeah, Filch is just like devastated. He's like in a chair. He's not able to look at Mrs. Norris. It's just heartbreaking, guys. It really is. If you've owned a pet in the past, something horrible happening to him is just heart-wrenching. Oh yeah, so Lockhart keeps on talking about all these amazing things that he's done. And like because Dumbledore is like, he's probably examining Mrs. Norris, which I do prefer, because in the movie, like from like several meters away, it says, it's petrified. Whereas this, he's actually fiddling around and trying spells on it and not seeing what its reaction is, what her reaction is, and so on. So he's probably trying to work out exactly what is actually wrong with Mrs. Norris. And says that she's not dead, she's just petrified. And it says, like, I've got down here, Lockhart stopped abruptly whilst counting murders that he'd prevented or something. The fact that he's book Lockhart is a treat, guys. He's brilliant in the movie as well, but getting more Lockhart may actually be my favourite thing about this book so far. Getting more Lockhart is just an absolute chef's kiss. Dooba-dooba-doo. So yes, Filch bringing up that he's a squib, and he's embarrassed to even say it. Maybe this is interesting because he's like saying he knows I'm a squib, so he doesn't say it straight away. Now that might be because Ron and Hermione are there. It might be because he just hates the word so much, or maybe he hates saying it in the presence of someone as great as Dumbledore. But being able to actually say the word was very, very difficult for him. And obviously he wants it to be kept a secret amongst students. But again, if you're watching, you as a wizard with wizard parents, or a witch, watching a caretaker, cleaning some mud for an hour instead of using some sort of magic, although he does use magic later on in this chapter, actually. Would you be a little bit suspicious about that? I don't know. But yeah, students do not know that he is a squib, at least not yet. Maybe it is Ron and Harry who let it, blab it to the rest of the school. I don't think Hermione would, especially with her, with her prejudice that she's getting at this point. So yes, it does appear that Snape is defending Harry, but then he says that maybe he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is in the movie. I wrote that down thinking it wasn't, but that line is in the movie. And he questions why they're actually in the corridor. And he actually tries to get Harry take the pennies just dropped. Maybe Snape knew about the bludger, which will be coming up in the next chapter. But Snape tries to, which is insane, give Harry the punishment of being kicked off the Quidditch team. That was never going to happen. I don't think Snape thought it was going to happen, but maybe he thought, maybe this is my chance to stop him from that. But then he would have to know about Dobby, though. I don't know. I don't know if this all adds up, guys. I don't know if this all adds up. But that is such a strange punishment for Snape to suggest. Seriously. Considering, like, with the Whomping Willow, he's trying to get them expelled. And now he's saying, well, get Harry off the team. What? That is strange. And then McGonagall's like, that ain't gonna happen. That is a strange punishment that he tries to get done there. Let me know your thoughts on that, because that's actually very interesting. I'm probably wrong there, but I mean, had to know about Dobby, know about the bludger. I don't know. So Dumbledore says about how Madame Sprout has the little dudes and can make the cure. Mandrakes, there we go. Once they're off size, that they can use the mandrakes to make a potion to cure Mrs. Norris. And Lockhart immediately says, "Oh, I'll make that. I've made thousands of a time." And Snape's like, "Excuse me," not like Timothy Spall said to me. "Excuse me," really angry. But go back to my reactions there. But Snape, I love Timothy Spall, guys. I really do. He'll be coming in soon, won't he? Next book. But yeah, Snape is like, "Excuse me, I'm the potion master here," and there's just this awkward silence. I wish that is something which I would have loved to see in the movie, guys. The thing is that this scene is all done in front of the other students. Not completely, because Dumbledore tells all the students to get back to their dormitories, but it all takes place there, right next to the message and everything. But it being taken away does allow the teachers to be... I don't know if Snape would have said, "Excuse me, I'm the potions dude," if all the students were there. Maybe he would have done, but having that was great. I really want to see Lockhart's face. Because you know that in Lockhart's head, he's thinking, Snape's not going to do it as well as I could do it, or Snape's going to be taking my thunder. Nah, that's what he's really thinking. I want a movie with Snape and a Lockhart going on holiday together, guys. There you go. I've just said that. I've just said that sentence. But I would love it. Anyway. So yes, Ron, Hermione, and Harry are let go. I think that Hermione's gone in a different direction. So at this point, it is just Ron and Harry, and they sneak into a classroom, and Ron basically... Oh no, Hermione is definitely there. And Ron basically fills in Harry with saying how the voices are bad thing, even for the Wizarding world. Which is interesting, guys, because it's Hermione who says that in the movie. And again, that does just take away from Ron again. It does, guys. I'll say it again. I loved movie Hermione. I thought she was great. But she's so much better done in the books. And these... I've gone into it before. But taking stuff away from Ron and giving it to Hermione, I can now see why that would get frustrating at times. And again, Ron is like saying about how, he actually says that if he was put into Slytherin, then he would have gone home knowing this about Slytherin. Oh no, that's later on. Sorry. But yeah, he fills Harry in on what a squib is, and he actually goes to laugh when Harry says it, which is very mean of Ron, especially considering how passionate he is about being inclusive with Muggleborns. The fact that he's willing to laugh at a squib. Again, guys, I might be the only person on the planet who feels like this, but I feel really bad about Filch. And Ron smirking, basically laughing, when Harry says, "So what's a squib?" Very telling, very telling. Again, guys, not giving Ron a hard time there. He's just being a kid that age. This is what kids are like, and so yeah, so he does have a little chuckle to himself, and he's basically saying that it's funny because it's Filch. If it was anyone else, he wouldn't find it funny. So yeah, Filch is basically pacing the location of where Mrs. Norris was found. There's a chair there and everything, much like we saw in Order of the Phoenix, where he's got his chair. Maybe it's the same chair. No cheese sandwich mentioned in the book though. In this book, I should say. But he's pacing the corridor and giving students a really hard time, trying to get them in trouble for breathing loudly or looking happy and everything. And so Filch is understandably very upset and basically taking out the students, which is not understandable. Now this is interesting. I don't think the message is in blood, guys, in the book. If it is, I am 99% sure it has not been mentioned that it's blood. And yet in the movie, when Ron and Hermione go around the corner, Hermione from quite a distance says, "Oh, it's blood." Maybe it smelled of chicken there, because I believe that blood's meant to smell of chicken, right? I'm not sure. Everything tastes like chicken. Apart from chicken, according to is it Tim from the Thomas? Tim, I think it's Tim. Tom from The Hobbit. Go check out my Hobbit reaction, guys. I love that scene. Anyway, shut up, Veggie. Sorry, guys. This is why these book reactions are so long. Yeah. So if it did in the book say that the message is even crimson, it says that it's glittering, and it's even glittering days after the event, I believe. And so, and Filch is trying to wipe the message off. He's using Mrs. Skewer's all-purpose magical mess remover. So technically he's using magic there, which is good for him. But I don't think it's meant to be blood in the book, which is interesting because we haven't heard anything about chickens yet. Would that have happened yet in the movie? I'm not sure. I mean, we'll find out as the book continues, but certainly I've not heard. I swear it doesn't say that it's blood. If I'm wrong, I am so sorry, guys. You know what I'm like. Get a lovely bit with again, Ginny's getting mentioned so much more, guys, and I do feel like that would have been a bit better in the movie. Again, time and everything. Ginny she's been affected quite badly with what happened with Mrs. Norris because she's a big cat lover. And Ron is trying to cheer her up and saying, "Oh, if you knew Mrs. Norris, Mrs. Norris is horrible," sort of thing. But he's but of course, she's going to be absolutely fine and everything. It's really nice to hear stuff between Ginny and Ron. It really is, guys. I really like these extra Weasley interactions. They add so much more to the character. And yeah, Hermione's reading quietly. You get the impression that she's already starting to conjure up a plan. In fact, it's actually a few days where she's not really talking with Ron and Harry. She's too invested in whatever she's reading and everything. You get the impression that she's coming up with this master plan. So yeah, Harry is like walking up some steps, and I think that Justin's coming down. And as soon as Justin sees him, he's like, "Whoop! See you later." I think that would have been a nice addition in the movie, because Justin is literally there to say, "Hello, I'm Justin. I'm Muggle born. I'm gonna go and get frozen now." So that would be nice. It's very, very quick, very, very subtle in the book. It doesn't scream out why Justin would be doing this, but I like that a lot. And Harry finds Ron in the library with Hermione, and Ron is trying to finish off his homework for Professor Binns' classroom, which has to be it's like judged in physical length, which is just amazing. I guess that's because it's scrolls, but it's still very illogical, and it has to be at least 3 foot long. And Ron is like still 8 inches short and everything. And Hermione's already done like 4 foot, and like Ron says, and her handwriting's tiny. It's just which makes like the whole length of it very illogical, especially for someone like Ron. You'd expect him to just make those letters just a bit larger, maybe like by a half, and just cut that down that writing time by a lot. But I do love that, and we get this whole Binns classroom situation. Oh yeah, Ron does because Harry says about what happened with Justin, and Ron says that Justin's an idiot because of what he thinks about Lockhart, the fact that he's such a big fan of Lockhart. I think that's a bit unfair. Maybe it's because it's the Hufflepuff side of it, but also Justin's just nice about everyone, and so Justin would say all this stuff about Lockhart and everything. But he is clearly a bit of a fanboy, much like Hermione, to be fair. And yes, Hermione's trying to get the Hogwarts history out to the library, but all the copies are gone, and she's left her copy at home, and it's like a 2-week waiting list. I really like that, guys, because in the movie, you get the impression that all the other students are like, "Oh no, something bad's going to happen," which it would be like that. But it's also, in the book, they're like, it's like almost like a first curiosity about, oh, okay, I want to read up about this, like almost an excitement about it, and we definitely get that in this upcoming scene. Ron tries to read Hermione's homework, but Hermione won't let him, which is interesting, guys, because in the first year, I should say, at the school, Hermione obviously did really help both Harry and Ron out with her homework. So maybe that's expired to an extent now. But she does say he had 10 days to do it, and so she doesn't want to just straight up copy. Yes, there is a theory about Binns that go around the students that maybe Binns actually doesn't know that he's dead. That he just got up one day and just left his body there before. As apparently he just, he doesn't seem like, he knows that he's a ghost. Well, he is going through chalkboard and stuff, apparently. And now we get the big difference here, guys. It's Professor Binns' class where Hermione asks about the Chamber of Secrets. That's awesome, guys. I much prefer the book version. I will say this, I can definitely understand why they changed it for the movie. One, because it's basically McGonagall's main scene in the movie. And I feel like I literally just said, they're trying to put over the fear of the Chamber of Secrets a lot more than the book is. Like, as soon as Hermione asks the question, it kind of opens the floodgates where loads of other students start asking questions as well, which I think is kind of similar in the movie. But McGonagall's... I'll put it this way, guys. Book McGonagall would have just said, "I'll tell you that, now let's get back to the class." She just would, guys. Book McGonagall's I wouldn't say very different, but she would not. She would not do what movie McGonagall naturally would. Movie McGonagall is a lot more of a caring character. So when Hermione puts her hands up and asks about the Chamber of Secrets, McGonagall looks around, is like, yeah, okay, these kids are scared. They just want a bit of information. I'll tell them the bare minimum. Book McGonagall wouldn't do that at all. Book McGonagall would say, "What are you talking about? Let's just get back to class and everything." So that's why McGonagall, being that different character in the movie, it does kind of make sense that she would, attempt to maybe, she says there's a monster around there, but give information that she feels the students will learn anyway, and it might just, give them some reassurance, But Binns ain't having any. Binns is like to say that how he deals with in history with facts, not myths. And when Hermione asks a question, like it mentions Dean, Lavender, and Neville, like, whoa, wait, what's happening? Because it's Binns' classroom, guys, and so everyone's like, huh. Everyone's just exhausted, like completely brain frozen, just like staring out the window sort of state. So as soon as something happens, like someone asking a question, which is never a thing either, and the fact that that question's about the chamber has everyone like, wow, wait, what's going on? So these students are obviously very different than the movie students, where they look genuinely concerned. They're like, oh, let's hear about this chamber, and Binns is very, very reluctant to actually do that. So yes, Binns does say that he deals with facts, not myths, and he refers to Miss Granger as Miss Grant, which is amazing. We get a couple more of those as well. Everyone's now paying attention, and Binns is like kind of freaked out by everyone's like. He was like really interested in what he has to say, and which he's just not used to at all. It's just, this is the thing. This is a very funny scene, and I feel like if you're gonna have that in the movie, it may have taken the seriousness of the situation out a bit. But because it's in the book, you can stretch it out a bit more. You can have other scenes where it's a lot more serious, but this book scene is just great, guys. It really is. I would have loved to see Professor Binns generally in the movies, but it looks like he is. It's gotta be Binns. It looks like he's gonna be in Hogwarts Legacy. I know that there's some questioning about timelines and everything like that, but I think that it probably is. In fact, when this video is new, I checked out another Hogwarts trailer, and in the art for the channel, the YouTube channel, there appears to be a Whomping Willow near Hogwarts, the big wide shot of Hogwarts, and I've got several comments because I say in the video, oh, maybe that's the Whomping Willow. Got lots of comments saying, nah, Whomping Willow wouldn't have been there. That apparently that gets explained in the books that he wouldn't be there yet, which obviously we'll find out when we cover that. I think it is. I think even if the books say so, even if the movies say so, I think there will be a Whomping Willow at Hogwarts, guys. And so we shall see. So these things don't necessarily have to be completely faithful to the source material. As faithful as possible is always good, but that being said, I really want to see Professor Binns. So yeah, Binns goes into the history of Hogwarts. He actually says that the castle was built by the founders of Hogwarts, which is interesting, guys, because I don't think that was ever said. Because I'm pretty sure that in the past I have questioned what the original purpose for the castle was. Maybe it was somebody's castle and it was donated towards the school to become, the place, or maybe it had a different function beforehand. But no, it does say that the castle's actually built for that purpose. I don't think that was ever specifically said in the movie, but because I'm sure I've questioned what the castle's original purpose was before. And it does say that Gryffindor were kind of the ones who blocked Slytherin, kind of forcing Slytherin to actually leave the school. Obviously, they came back at some point. But yeah, I think in the movie it just says that the other three houses were just basically saying, nah, we're not dealing with this. Whereas in this, obviously Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw are against what Slytherin are saying, but it does say that there was particularly a situation between Gryffindor and Slytherin, and so that was interesting. That's the sort of thing which you'd expect to be in the movie, because obviously the movies are very pro Gryffindor, as they should be, I guess. Binns calls Seamus Finnegan Flatley, I think. Pravati intervenes, actually says about how maybe a dark magic has to be used to open the chamber, and Professor Binns is like, no, that's nonsense, Pennyfeather. It's just me, Miss Pennyfeather. And I do like the kind of, what's the term? I can't think of the term, but the irony, I guess, of a ghost that is only willing to deal in facts. I actually really like that. And that's obviously what we're going for here in this scene, as I did appreciate that. Yeah, so this is... Now, after the class, this is when Ron says about... No, he knew that... The Slithering guy... Slithering? I'm so sorry, I can't remember how you actually say his name. He says that he knows that he was nuts, but if he'd known this, and if he was put in Slytherin, then Ron would have just gone straight home, having been put in the house by the Sorting Hat. Which again really lends to this whole thing about how he truly and utterly believes in Muggleborns and Wizarding folk, becoming one and interacting and everything. And Hermione's obviously there nodding and everything. Big thing for Hermione to hear Ron saying that, and so again, that would have been a nice line to be in the movie. I don't think it was. So yeah, another line from Ron, which it really puts out there that that obviously it's because of Molly and Arthur doing a good job in parenting, in my opinion. But the fact that they have this whole strong feeling about integration with Muggleborns. Actually, that's very interesting that Ron says that about Slytherin, because obviously in the first book, Draco says that if he was put in Hufflepuff, then he would be on the next train home, and so I guess they've all got their things. I don't know if anyone feels like about Ravenclaw or anything. I doubt it. So yes, we get... So the whole thing with the spiders going out the window is actually just before they find Mrs. Norris. But this is after Professor Bin's lesson. They find themselves. They don't go on purpose, but they find themselves in the corridor where it all took place again. And Filch is nowhere to be seen at this point. And so they do some snooping around. And this is when they find the scorch marks and the spiders going out the window. And Ron says how he doesn't like spiders and everything. He actually says that Fred turned his bear into a spider once because he broke his toy broomstick. I do like the idea that children wizards and witches would have toy broomsticks, obviously with no magic ability in them at all. But it's the same as having like a fire truck and wanting to be a fireman and everything. The fact that it's like aspirational toys and everything. I thought that was nice. And it's probably good for learning as well. Get your balance sorted and everything. But the fact that there are toy broomsticks, that's a really nice bit of world building thrown in there. But yeah, he turned a teddy bear into a spider. No wonder Ron's freaking freaked out by him. We hope that Ron never watches Lord of the Rings. Return of the King. And he says that he doesn't mind them dead because, in classes, Hermione says, I've seen you, with them in class. And he says, well, I don't mind them when they're dead. I'm not that great with dead ones, to be honest, either, guys. I'll be quite frank. Hermione's kind of, laughing at Ron for this, which isn't in the movie at all. But she's kind of, finding it funny how Ron is scared of spiders. At this point, when I read that, I was thinking, oh, that's interesting, because Hermione's scared of something, isn't she? And so I gave it a quick Google. And I came up upon a website which has all the different characters' fears. And it basically said for Hermione, it's failure. And that's it. And I was thinking, no, I'm sure that we know about Hermione's having another fear. It's flying, guys. So that wasn't mentioned on this website. But I'm pretty certain in the first book, Hermione is very nervous about learning to fly. And then in Azkaban, the movie, we have that one line where Hermione's like, I hate flying, before they go flying down to go and save Sirius. But yeah, I knew that she'd had a phobia. I just couldn't remember what it was, and that website didn't have it on there. I'm sure the website's very good, though. And failure definitely does make sense with Hermione as well. So yeah, the bathroom is right next to where the message is. Now, I don't know if that was the case in the movie, guys. It may have been. But Moaning Myrtle's bathroom being basically adjacent to the corridor which had the writing on the wall. And they go in there and snoop about, and Myrtle's there, and she's saying the boys aren't allowed in there or anything. She hasn't done any flirting yet, but I don't think that she did that until it's at the end of chamber where she like says you can share my toilet or something with Harry. I don't know if that's going to happen here, because this Myrtle definitely seems a lot more... I don't know, guys. The Myrtle in the movie seems very comical. Like, as in, that's kind of her main purpose. So we'll see if that happens later on in this book. It'll be right at the end if it does. And then... yeah, I do feel like Myrtle is more sympathetic in the book, but that might just be my reading. I do feel like in the movie version that she's meant to be more funny, quite frankly. And as they're leaving, Bloomin' Percy's like coming down the stairs and saying, "Hey, you shouldn't be in there. It's this girl's toilet and everything," and gives like Ron an earful. And as he's doing it, it says that Harry, that Percy's face is swelling, or his neck is swelling, in a way that reminds Harry of Molly, which is just amazing. I love the fact... I can't remember... I think that when Ron and Molly get compliments, or when like Molly like sees Lockhart or something like that, it mentions about how their cheeks go red and everything. The fact that... and Ron's ears are going red when he's angry and everything. I love the fact that the Weasleys seem to have these things where... when they feel different emotions and they show it visibly and everything. It's really nice. And the fact that you know, Harry connects Percy's with Molly's, and how I've connected in the past with Harry and Molly having the same red cheeks in the past, or pink cheeks, I think it says in fact. And yeah, Percy like says, do you have any idea how all this would look and everything? And it seems like, when I first heard it, that it sounds like Percy is like saying, hey, if you get caught, so he's obviously not going to tell anyone about it. But then Ron like says, the only reason why you're not going to tell anyone about it is because you don't want it to screw up your political climb, which I'm not sure is true. I mean, that might be Ron just being mean, because we had in the previous chapter where Percy was really looking after forcing Ginny to take this medicine while she is ill. So I do think he cares about his family and everything. That's an interesting contrast with what I was saying at the start of the first chapter, where he's like basically forcing Ginny to take this medicine and making sure, because he's the head Weasley at this school, the oldest Weasley. So for Ron to then say, you know, but then again, Percy did say, do you have any idea how this will look? So yeah, maybe Ron's onto something, but I think he is being a bit mean as well, though. And says, no more detective work or a right to mum, which did make me laugh out loud. I got to admit, I thought that was actually hilarious. Obviously, he should be reporting to McGonagall, which I think that he would be absolutely fine to do, but the fact that he's not willing to report, either because Ron is family or because of his own political climb, he's threatening to write home to mum about it. So that's awesome. And I believe that Percy takes 5 points off Gryffindor, which is bad for him, obviously, but he's got to at least say why that is. Whenever you take points off students, you would have to at least write down why it is that you're taking points off. You would, absolutely, because if not, then, you know, you could say that way for, like, say, oh yeah, Snape would like, oh yeah, Draco, I'm giving him 1,000,000 points. Don't have to say why. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Percy takes points off, which is interesting that he would have the power to do that. Again, if I got that wrong, I do apologise. So yes, the three discuss Draco at the fireplace. Even Hermione stops her homework early to actually discuss it, which is obviously a big difference for her. And she says how she has a plan, but it's going to break like 50 different rules, which is in the movie. But then it doesn't have this great line by Ron, which is in the book. It's a book exclusive where Ron is like, if in a month or so you want to explain what the plan is, then do tell us. And so then Hermione then spills the beans on what this plan actually is. And yeah, she says about how she needs to get a book from the library, but they need permission from a teacher to get this specific book out. And Ron says, well, we'd have to find someone really thick. So that is a great way of ending that chapter. Now, obviously, really thick in the UK, guys, means really stupid. So don't get confused by what thick with 2 C's now means online. But yes, love this chapter. Again, the bin stuff is great. But I can understand why they've changed it for for the movie. Anyway, let's go on to chapter 10. This video is going to be really long again. The Rogue Bludger. After a defense of the dark after a defense against the dark arts lesson, Hermione asks permission to take a book out from the library. Lockhart instantly agrees without questioning it at all. They are able to get the restricted book out and take it to the girls' bathroom. Hermione explains that it will take a month to make a polyjuice potion that can change their appearance to look like someone else. It is the day of the first Quidditch match of the season, and Wood is determined to defeat Slytherin despite their Nimbus 2001s. The game starts and Harry, Fred and George are all confused to see one of the bludgers appearing to only be interested in Harry. They ask for a timeout and fill the rest of the team in on what's happening. Harry demands Fred and George stop bodyguarding him, and the game continues. While pausing momentarily to avoid letting Draco know that the snitch is right behind him, the bludger slams into Harry, breaking his arm. Harry is able to grab the snitch, winning the match with his other hand before falling to the ground. He awakens to Lockhart's face, who tries to fix his arm but accidentally removes all the bones. Still gives me chills. Harry is taken to the hospital wing and is told that he will have to stay in overnight. During that night, he's suddenly awoken by Dobby standing over him. Dobby tells Harry that he should not be there at Hogwarts, before admitting that he was the one who blocked the pathway to 9 3/4, as well as making the bludger chase Harry. He refuses to tell Harry who is behind everything that is happening. They are both hear a commotion and Dobby disappears. Harry pretends to be asleep as Dumbledore and McGonagall enter the room with a petrified Colin. Seemed like quite a short summarization, but that's the summarization. You know what it is? It's because it's got Quidditch matches. Because Quidditch matches, it's a lot of information about the plays, but obviously I'm not going to go into all that in the summarization. So it's another Quidditch chapter, guys. Definitely some changes here that we'll be going into as always. But first of all, we have Lockhart's lesson, and it's amazing, guys. Lockhart is no longer using live animals in his classes. It's all practical now, or acting, and in fact it is acting. He's actually using Harry, trying to humiliate him, no doubt. It's definitely trying to humiliate Harry. He keeps on using him as being either the victim or the person that needs his help. So he makes Harry pretend to be a simple Transylvanian villager, a yeti with a head cold, and a vampire that can only eat lettuce now after being dealt with by Lockhart. Again, I would have paid money to see that in a movie, but that is not the Harry that we're getting there. We don't get moments like that where Harry is basically being humiliated, and Harry is basically about to say that he's not going to do it anymore. In fact, in this lesson, Lockhart has him acting like a werewolf, and he's like saying, "Come on, Harry, how louder," and stuff like that. And the only reason why Harry is not refusing to do it is because he knows that Hermione has this plan to try and get Lockhart to sign the book, sign the note, so they can take it to Madame Pince and get the book out, which is amazing. I'd love to see it, but again, guys, we just don't get scenes like that with Harry in the movies. We hear about how Hermione is talking to Lockhart after the lesson. They're talking about the ghoul book, and says about how he was able to defeat one of them with a tea strainer, just trap it at least. And basically, upon asking if she can have permission to take the book out, he's like, "Oh, yep." He doesn't. Clearly, completely not paying attention to what's going on. They could have asked about anything, and he would have just signed it, I think. And he takes out this peacock feather quill, really long one, and it says that, and he says to Ron, "Impressive, isn't it?" or something like that, and it says, misreading Ron's revolted face at the presence of this massive, ridiculous quill. That's ironic. We hear that Lockhart was actually a Seeker. Now, we knew that he played Quidditch because we have that wonderful picture of him in the movie. The picture that he's signing and then giving to Harry to, put in the envelope and everything. But no, he was actually a Seeker. That's very interesting. Yeah, because Seekers tend to be quite small, don't they? I think that's the way around. It makes sense because they have to be nippy, of course. And he says that he was offered a place on the national team. Probably not true, let's face it. That is probably yet another lie. And he says that he's willing to give advice to Harry because he's always willing to help out less able players. It's like every single line that Lockhart says is just absolutely golden, guys. And so, yeah, they get this signature with no problem at all. And Ron, on their way to the library, calls Lockhart a brainless git, which is amazing, guys. Again, git is such a British term. I don't think people say git anymore. In fact, but yeah, it's such a British term, and Hermione's like, he's not a brainless git, and like says, and actually bigs Lockhart up for helping him out in it. So she's still Team Lockhart, which again is so different from the movie. So yes, we have Madame Pince back again, always good in my book. And Hermione shows her the note, and like Madame Pince goes to take it, but Hermione's holding on to it because it has Lockhart's signature on. Again, that's such a nice little detail, guys. And Ron says he'll sign anything that's not tied down, essentially, if she asked. That's probably why he was okay with. He didn't even think about it. Well, one, because he's clearly not a good teacher, but also two, because it gets him a chance to sign his name. And we hear about the book illustrations, about how it has like a picture of a man turned inside out and a woman with arms on her head. Now, I thought that maybe I misremembered something. So I remember during my movie reaction, I remember like getting freaked out by an image of a woman who had a spider on her head. But no, it is a spider, guys. I've rechecked the scene. And so, yeah, a woman with arms coming out of her head, that is pretty messed up. That is not a spell that I want to be using. We hear about the student store cupboard. Which I don't think is mentioned in the movie at any point. So where you can just go and take stuff out freely. You don't even have to say that it's for a class or give any sort of reasoning for it. So there's a lot of herbology and potion stuff where you can, I guess, presumably make it in your spare time, and it must be all the the safe stuff you'd imagine. Although with Hogwarts, maybe not. Oh god, Ron says that he's not drinking anything with crab's toenails in, which is bloody horrible. Yeah, that's a horrible phrase. Like Hermione's like saying, well, you don't need to worry about that because we need to wait a month for it to brew anyway. And when she says about the month, like I think it's Ron is like saying we have to wait a month for this. That's like a long time. In the movie, it's Harry. In fact, this scene actually takes place in a different place where they're discussing it. It's actually in the library, in fact. And when Ron says that's ridiculous that they have to wait, Hermione's like actively annoyed. She really is. In fact, she actually slams the book shut. In fact, and there's a great line where she says, "I think that threatening Muggleborns is far worse than brewing a difficult potion." You definitely get the impression from book Hermione in this that even though she didn't know what it meant at the time, Draco calling her Mudblood has really affected her, and now that she knows what it means, she freaking hates Draco. In fact, I'll say this, guys, I feel like she's out for Draco. I feel like she, in a sense, wants the person that's behind all this to be Draco just so they can get him, and so she seems very, very motivated at anything that's going to frame Draco as being the one. That's why she's saying about going into the Slithering room to hopefully hear Draco admit it. I do think there is definitely an aspect of revenge with the way that she's acting, which, again, it's awesome, guys. It's character development, if it's there, if I'm not making it up, it's character development that is just not there in the movie. I think it's there in the book, but let me know your opinion in the comments. So it's the day of the Quidditch match. And Woods is like very passionate and determined to beat Slytherin. I don't think it is because of the Mudblood situation. I think it's because of the fact that Draco has essentially bought his way into the squad with these Nimbus 2001s, and like he calls cause Draco a slime and stuff like that. I don't think Lucius is there. I certainly don't think it mentions the fact that Lucius is in the teacher's box in the book, but in the movie he is there. Very interestingly. Obviously watching, his money pay off and everything, but in the book I don't think he's actually meant to be there. We have Madame Hooch, who obviously was not in the second movie. She was actually only in one movie, guys. She's a great actress, that woman, guys. I know her best from a sitcom called My Family, which would have been on around the same time as these movies being made. And she's great in it. She's really good. But I know that there was some... I think it was to do with pay. Or copyright. I think it may have to do with copyright, in fact. The fact that we don't have Hooch back outside of the first movie. But I have heard that she crops up a lot, apparently, in the books, guys. And so it's nice to hear Hooch back. I am obviously still envisioning that actress playing her. I've written down here that Draco calls Harry Scarhead, thinking that was a book exclusive, but it isn't. It's in the movie as well. It is a terrible insult. That is weak. Scarhead. That is pathetic. I guess it's the same level as saying Four Eyes, which, Harry wears glasses as well. So this is very interesting, guys. The fact that this would have been nice. Because the Quidditch matches in the movies are very action-orientated. In fact, in this one, you have bits of the stadium falling apart, guys, like the bludger smashing through walls and everything like that. That doesn't happen in the book. It doesn't have the bit where they go between the pitch and the fence, so with all the beams and everything, basically, essentially underneath the pitch. Harry is giving the bludger a wide berth by going on the outside. But yeah, there's nothing like the trench run that we have in the movie. And one thing that is lost because of that, because it's so action, Harry, overcoming the odds sort of thing. We don't have Fred and George essentially being the first ones to notice that something's up. They straight away, at least as soon as Harry notices, are like, hang on, something's not right. That bludger is acting very oddly. They absolutely should notice that, because that's their entire job on the pitch, is to keep an eye on the bludgers. And so they're very actively trying to get it away from Harry, but it carries on chasing him. And then they essentially are like, well, not even essentially, they are literally on his left and right. And they call for a timeout, which is interesting. I didn't realise that a timeout was a thing in Quidditch. You'd think that they would have called a timeout when Wood was knocked off his broom in the first movie. Yeah. If timeouts are things, unless they've used them all, in American football you get 3 timeouts, guys, and then there's different rules about extra time and everything like that. Shout out Max if you're listening, which I'm sure you are. Raiders fan. Season's starting next weekend, isn't it? I think it is. When I'm recording this, guys. So go Rams. I hope they're doing all right by the time you're watching this. Anyway, back to it. Doobie-doobie-doop-doop. Oh my goodness, I'm completely lost. Sorry, guys, I'm talking about NFL. Yes, we're talking about Fred and George, are basically the ones who notice that something's up. And they're like, and during the timeout, they're like saying that we need to keep an eye on Harry and everything. And Harry's like, no, you need to get back to the game. I'll deal with the snitch and everything. And so that was interesting. Anything with Fred and George, I really like, guys. But in the movies, at this point, they are obviously there just for the odd one-liners and everything. This would have been quite a humanising moment for them. In fact, quite frankly, across all these chapters that we covered today, it's the Weasleys, guys. It's the Weasley conversations that I really have. I just feel like they add so much to them. It really does. Pardon me. So yes, they fill in Wood with what's happening with the bludger. And this explains a scene which I thought was weird in the movie, guys. But now I realise what's actually going on. There's a bit where Harry's like obviously avoiding the bludger and everything, and like Draco like looks over and says, "Practicing for the ballet, Potter," and it is just like, and then the snitch is like right there. Now in my head, for some reason, I thought that Draco knew it was there and was just goading Harry, but he doesn't. He doesn't know it's there, and so he's like, And like, the way of winning the match is basically just like, he could have just gone like that and won the entire match and everything, which does pay off bad for him, actually. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, I'm glad that scene is now a bit explained, because I've always thought that was just weird, that Draco's like, instead of just winning the game, it's because he doesn't know the Snitch is actually right behind him. Now, this is a big difference. Harry doesn't want to go towards him or like make any sudden movements, because he doesn't want to let on that the Snitch is there for Draco. And because of that, the bludger smashes into Harry, breaking his arm. Again, guys, I much prefer that. I get the impression that with everything when it comes to Quidditch, well, I mean, this is the case in the book as well. Harry is really seen as being like the only reason why Gryffindor are winning, and the only reason why Slytherin are losing is because of Harry, and everything has to be about Harry, 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 Harry. So for him to get hit by the bludger, basically in the movie, he breaks his arm by hitting the ground after grabbing the Snitch. I think that having his arm broken by the bludger is so much more interesting. It actually makes the catch more difficult. In fact, quite frankly, yeah, what he does in the book is more impressive than what he does in the movie, quite frankly, because he has to leap for something knowing that he's going to fall because his other arm is completely, I can't say that word, screwed. There you go. So yeah, that doesn't happen. The bludger never actually hits him in the movie version. In the book version, I should say. No, in the movie version, yes. In the movie version, the bludger never actually hits him. In the book, it's actually the reason why his arm is broken. I just prefer that, guys. It's a minor thing. I'm making way much bigger thing about this. One thing which when watching at the time, I didn't think anything of it. But the fact that it's Hermione who stops the bludger, I get some people saying, and I agree with them to an extent, that Hermione is essentially perfect in the movie. Never gets anything wrong and anything. I'm not 100% on board with that. I think that they're absolutely onto something. But Hermione being the one to destroy the bludger here, it seems like it was like, oh, let's give Hermione something else. You know what I mean? Whereas in the book, the bludger's still going, like, it's still like flying all over the place. As I think it's Fred and George are trying to like pack away after the game and everything. But yeah, Hermione gets another moment there. I really like movie Hermione, guys. I'm not criticising it at all. But yeah, that rewatching it again, when I was watching it for the first time, I didn't even pick up on it. But watching it again, it's just like, oh, that's another thing that they decided to give Hermione. I really like Hermione, guys. I really worry it sounds like I'm ranting about it, but I'm not. And yeah, with this great line where it like says Harry like wakes up after hitting the ground. Oh yeah, good point. Draco doesn't come off his broom. Yeah, so Draco isn't in hospital wing because he didn't come off his broom, and so that's completely a movie exclusive, which does seem like a odd choice. It's a very comical way that he's like, groaning in agony, and Palfrey's like saying, "Oh, you can go, you're fine." But yeah, again, another change, and making Draco look a little bit more ridiculous, although we do have a bit of information. Well, we find out in the hospital scene in the book that apparently Draco has been given an earful because he didn't notice that the Snitch was right next to him. I guess because he's too focused on Harry, quite frankly, which is absolutely his character, isn't it? But yeah, it's very interesting that we hear that the Slytherin team is actually furious with Draco, which is probably why we never hear about him being in the team again, after, at least in the movies. We'll see. I'm guessing that's him done for the Slytherin team, maybe? They're not going to give up their Nimbuses, though, are they? We'll find out. We'll find out maybe in the next book. I don't think there's going to be another game in this book, but there might be. Oh my goodness, guys! I'm all over the place. I'm jumping back and forth now. That's right. So when Harry's like on the ground, he like his eyes open and he just sees like some teeth in front of him, and he just goes, "Oh no, not you!" It's great. Lockhart's like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And yeah, Harry being embarrassed by Lockhart is so significant. It's almost the main theme of the book. It really is, guys. The fact that he keeps on getting embarrassed by Lockhart, the fact that Lockhart is trying to embarrass him, but also, you know, pretending that they're buddies and everything like that. It's absolutely the main focus of the book to me, guys. It really is. And the thing is, none of this is in the movie, because the movie Harry, again, you never have him getting embarrassed or thinking bad about people. Like I say, Draco's only ever brought up when Draco is there. Whereas in the books, particularly in the first book, Ron and Harry are basically just talking about Draco all the time. So yeah, the fact that Harry is actually being embarrassed by Lockhart, and indeed Colin, in fact, so much more significant in the book. And I love it. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, so Wood is just like he's like beaming with happiness despite the fact that Harry's broken his arm. He's like, yay, we won the match and everything. Loving hearing more about Wood in this, because he seems like a if he seems a bit cutthroat in this one, particularly with Harry, and the fact that he's just delighted even though Harry's like broken his arm. But I guess in the Wizarding world, you know, Pomfrey said that she'd be able to fix the arm in minutes if it had some bones in it, and so I guess that kind of makes sense. I wonder if there's ever any Muggle-born Quidditch players. You'd imagine not. Because, like, if you'd never heard about football before, and then you go to school, and then people are saying about this football thing, you'd probably get into it and probably get quite good, but are you actually going to be good? You'd imagine that the kids who have been obsessed with it would be better at it, I guess. But obviously Harry wasn't, though. But, you know, Harry's Harry, though. So that's a bit different. But yeah, interesting thought. There's ever any, I'm trying to think, any Muggle-born Quidditch players that we know of? There's probably one really obvious one which I'm thinking of. Ah, well, let me know in the comments. So yes, the bludger is still giving trouble as Fred and George are packing everything away. And when Lockhart does the spell on Harry's arm and it removes the bones and everything, Harry's not even looking at his arm, which I do prefer as well, because I think that's realistic. He's thinking, oh god, this guy's going to do something terrible to my arm, and he doesn't even want to look at it. You know, obviously in the movie it's horrendous. He like folds it over right in front of his eyes. Still makes me wince. And then afterwards, like, Lockhart's like saying, oh, Madame Pomfrey will tidy you up a bit. So, as in, fix the thing which you've just done to him. I love that. Lockhart's great. Yeah, so Harry doesn't even look at his arm. Draco's not in the hospital wing because, obviously, what happened in the movie didn't happen. And so we don't have him there. Again, Ron calls Hermione out for her fangirling over Lockhart. And she is still defending him even at this point, even after what just happened. We get Pomfrey with her Skelogro, which is in the movie. It's the weird skeleton bottle that Dobby then has in the next scene. And Pomfrey's ranting about Quidditch. Very interesting, guys. I think she actually says about how the teachers are negligent and everything, and she likes saying how dangerous the game is and everything. That's a very interesting bit. I'd like to hear her opinions about all this sort of stuff. And you'd think that probably covers a lot of other things, like, you know, lessons, not just Quidditch, you know. The fact that quite a lot of things in this school are blooming dangerous. I guess because Quidditch is extracurriculum. Is that the right term? It's not, no, that's not the right term. It's not a lesson. And so she's going to be more frustrated about the fact that it's something that doesn't need to happen. you know? But yeah, her ranting about Quidditch, very interesting. And yes, we hear about Draco getting in trouble with the rest of the Slytherin team for not noticing the snitch. And I got here again. Hermione definitely seems to be out for revenge with Draco. That's just my opinion, guys. I really want to know what your thoughts are on that, though. Please do let me know. Dobby shows up, obviously, that night. He says that he had to iron his hands because of what he did to the gateway. Which, that line is in the movie. But it's about the bludger. And so, it's obviously just to tighten the scene up and make it a bit shorter. But yeah, in the book, he's actually saying that he had to iron his hands because of what he did with the doorway at 9 3/4. it mentions how he accidentally buried his master's his master's dinner, and that, you know, he got flogged for it. It's horrible. When he found out that Harry still got to Hogwarts, he then accidentally burnt his master's dinner, and he got flogged for it. It's just horrible. Harry says that he will. Oh yeah, he says that in the movie where Harry says once his arms bet he's going to strangle Dobby, and I think in the book Dobby is, because Dobby is a little bit freaked out in the movie with it, but in the book he's like, oh, I get death threats, you know, several times a day. He does say that in the movie, but he definitely does seem a little bit worried about Harry when he says it. Yeah, so we hear about how the family that owned Dobby had to be very careful to not accidentally hand him clothing and everything like that. That's an interesting line, which I certainly didn't pick up when watching it for the first time. But I do think it is in the movie. And we hear about how to the dregs of the magical world, Harry is seen as this absolute hero. It's really nice, actually, guys. It's a lot longer in the book than it is in the movie. Like, really putting over the fact that Harry is seen as this absolute legend because of what he did as a baby, and how it helped out a lot of house elves. It's really sweet, very, very sweet. And yes, Dobby mentioning the Chamber of Secrets. There's like a nice little line, because obviously he starts hitting himself after he mentions the Chamber of Secrets, typically, because he's like, you know, ashamed of what he's just done and everything. And then there'll be little lines like saying Harry watches as Dobby's hand slowly inches towards the water jug. I love that, guys, because we had that in the second chapter where, like, say, Dobby's head moved dangerously towards the wall and stuff like that. It's just like Dobby just about to go nuts again. And it describes Dobby's sobbing as a miserable ecstasy, which is a really nice way of putting it. So Colin is brought in, and it turns out that Colin was probably actually coming to see Harry. So I'm guessing that's maybe after doors were shut. Yeah, I'd imagine that it's after the doors were shut. But Colin, you know, seeing his idol going out every other night, was thinking, oh, this must be fine then, because he also obviously knew at the school, trying to get to Harry with a bunch of grapes, and then gets caught on the way. So that's a nice little detail, the fact that he was actually on his way to see Harry. And it does feel like, in the book at least, obviously, that Harry does feel a little bit to blame about it. I think probably because he's also been quite rude to Harry over the time, but I like that. I like that little bit of detail. And yeah, it says how Dumbledore was off to get hot chocolate, and if he hadn't been, he wouldn't have found Colin at the time. I really like that. I really like the fact that Colin was actually going to see Harry. I think that's a really nice detail, and it kind of... the guilt that Harry would feel of that is very interesting. The fact that he's been so rude to Colin. It's not Harry's fault, but he's part of the reason why Colin got. I like that. I thought that was nice. That's my notes, guys. Another hugely long video, but now we've got our Harry Potter book club comments to do. You guys have told me that you want these to be a part of the longer video rather than separating them. So I'm absolutely fine with that, guys. Let's get through them. Okay, so here's the Harry Potter book club, guys. This is how it looks on the Patreon. Like I say, you can back the Patreon for as little as you want and get access to this. And here I put them out like a while before the video starts getting recorded. And you can all leave your comments and your thoughts about the chapters. You can reread the chapters if you want. I know a lot of people do that. And yeah, this is how you can be a part of the video. But let's get on with these comments. Starting off with Natalie. I always kind of wish the whole Death Day party made it into the movie. I was thinking this. I understood dropping it, but a part of me will always wish there was more Sir Nicholas. Yeah, it's a Nicholas de Mimsy Porpington. That is a wonderful name, isn't it? I just call him Nick, quite frankly. But yeah, it would have been nice because he is in Chamber, isn't he? But he just like says good morning to Percy, doesn't he? That's it. I think that's literally his entire role in the movie. Unless he's there, I think he's there at the end as well. in the Great Hall, I think. Either way. Thank you very much, Natalie. Great. I completely agree. Catty, our first mention of squibs and a cameo of the Vanishing Cabinet. What? That's not the... Wait, what? Oh, that's interesting, Catty. Is that the cabinet that that Peeves pushed over, maybe? First mention of squibs. I gotta say, guys, I thought that they mentioned it in the first book. Obviously, they didn't, but in my head, I thought that they had. I thought they'd mentioned that Filch was a squib. But obviously, Harry doesn't even know that. So how could it possibly mention it? As a person who used to work in sanitation, I feel sympathy for Filch, who couldn't use magic to clean up after other wizards. Yeah, absolutely, an hour to clean up Harry's mud and mess. Although he might be over-egging it, maybe. I also think it's interesting that the movie made it seem like Slytherin thought Muggleborns were inferior, but the book made it seem like he was worried that they would betray them for superstitious Muggles. Yet they still misunderstood the founder's concern. It's very true. Yeah. Even like, you know, recently I get comments like saying how, like, you know, people are slithering and they're, you know, they're not into this whole Muggleborn stuff and seeing them as inferior and everything. It is very, very different. I mean, the fact that we're only just learning about Slytherin, about squibs and so on at this point is fascinating, but it seems like Slytherin thought Muggleborns were inferior, but the book made it seem like they were worried they would betray them to suspicious Muggles. Okay, that's very interesting, Catty. I'm not sure if that has come up yet. Maybe? It's very interesting, though. Maybe that's what Draco's going to be saying in the Slytherin dorm room. Okay, awesome comment, Katie. If I have missed something out that suggests that for Slytherin, then do let me know. But that is very interesting. Oh no, y'all. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm saying your name wrong. My mouse is going crazy, guys. I need to replace my mouse. I really do. For years, I've needed to replace my mouse. This starts the saga of side plots that have been dropped from the movies. So much more to come. Excited to hear your thoughts about the theories when you come across plots that aren't in the movies and that you don't know anything about. Yeah, well, that's the joy of doing this series. But yeah, interesting to say it's the start of the side plots. I don't know what specifically. Maybe you're talking about stuff like Nick. Maybe that's what you're talking about, and Filch, of course, as well. Thank you very much for your comment, Benjamin. I'm so sad that they didn't put Nick's death. This is, I said in the chapter 1. I wonder how many of you are going to say this is the part which you wanted the movie the most. I'm so sad that they didn't put Nick's Death Day party in the movie. This could have been so much fun. It could have been so funny. Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe they filmed it, but probably not, because obviously we have Harry leaving Gilderoy's classroom and then discovering the message, rather than it being on Halloween, or at least, you know, after it being at the Death Day party. I did think that this would be a common comment, to be honest. Glad to hear you're watching the movie segments as well. Yeah, I really had to this time, Nix. It made the last read more enjoyable. If you were able to place the bits in the movie missed out, it would be a small pile. Oh, I'm sorry, my reading's terrible. If you were able to place the bits the movies missed out, it would be a small pile after book 1. After books 7, we might just see the top of your hat above the pile. That's very true. Nearly Headless Nick has an important cameo to play in the later book, so he wasn't just there to add local colour. Very interesting, Nix. Okay, well, we'll see about that. Here's Max. I love the Rogue Bludger chapter, really any Quidditch chapter in the series, especially how protective Fred and George are of Harry. Yeah, like I say, they're pretty much the first ones that notice that something's going on. Them yelling at Oliver always cracks me up because I question if they would have been that way for Ron. Also, I prefer the twins chasing the bludger over OP Harry destroying school property. Yeah, it's true. And no one's questioning it as well. The fact that the bludger's still going crazy. Yeah, no one questions it. No one's like, oh, that was a bit weird. But then again, they don't in the book either, do they? Makes more sense than a student doing something that the teachers could have done at any point. Like, always Lockhart is great in these chapters too. Oh, he's absolutely a legend. Yeah, I think they probably would, Fred and George. I mean, they give Ron a hard time, but I think they probably would. Considering how dangerous this bludger is acting, it actually breaks Harry's arm in one go. But, yeah, great comment, Max. Lockhart is just phenomenal. He really is. Jonas, the fact that Snape knows that ghosts usually do not serve edible food on their parties implies that they are more ghost parties in the world. Very, very good point, Jonas. So it's not just death days, or at least significant death days, because this is the 500th for Nick. So maybe they'd celebrate him every year. And that Snape would have attended as well. And that maybe Snape loves to party with some ghosts. I need to see that scene. I need to see him on the dance floor. Excited to hear your thoughts on these chapters. Thank you so much, Jonas. Yeah, that's a very good point about Snape knowing about the food not catering for humans. Dara, what do you think about squibs now that you learn a bit more about them? I always thought it cruel, you know, of the world, but there is literally no place for you in it. That's a lot of people feel like that, unfortunately. Like with us, well, there you go, Dara. Yeah, exactly. I spoke to you saying there. Yeah, no, a lot of people do feel like they just don't have a place in the world, but to always be looked down by people around you, including Ron and Harry. Sure, Ron says it's only funny cause it's Filch. Is that truly what he thinks? I don't know. It's a cruel hand to be dealt, isn't it? Especially if your parents were slavering. But it must happen. And I wonder if it happens for a reason. I would love to hear more about it, but I have a feeling that we probably won't be hearing more about it. We shall see. Jacqueline. Do you think Nick ever gave up on joining the headless hunt? He's been going for 500 years. Also, Sir probably decapitated Podmore always makes me giggle. Did he say that? Did Nick say that? That's amazing. I'm guessing that's something that Nick said. I'm sorry, I didn't pick up on that line, but that is an amazing line. It's like really bitter. Properly decapitated Podmore. Daniel Lee. Imagine the old students who have to take the career-defining test, and their teacher is role-playing the scene in his book. Well, there you go, Daniel. It's because of the Pixies, isn't he? He's not willing to risk having anything more dangerous, thank God, in the classroom with students. It's embarrassing, isn't it? But then again, Umbridge says that, you know, textbooks will do. You don't need any practical things. And so, I guess Gilderoy... You know what? Gilderoy's probably thinking, oh, okay, no more practical stuff. But also, now I can really show what it was like. And so he's probably loving it. And the students obviously not. With Ron's disgusted face. Why do you think Lockhart offers to do things like brew the Mandrake potion and give Harry flying lessons when he going to expose immediately after he tempts him? Daniel, I have thought about this. I don't know. I think I may have mentioned it before. I wonder. This is a ridiculous theory, guys, which I'm sure you're going to be able to stomp on straight away. I wonder if he's messed up his forget memory spell before, and has read his books And so he actually thinks he is too cool for school. Well, not literally in this case. I wonder if that's the case. Because after Chamber of Secrets, I did think, oh wow, the only document that this guy's going to be able to check out to find out exactly who he is and what his gig is a complete lie. And so he's going to read that, believing it more than Hermione and Justin do. Let's put it like that. So that's just a crazy theory, but I do wonder if that is the case. Also, it's kind of funny how Professor Binns is completely unaware one of the most famous wizards in history is in his class. Interesting. I guess that's a very good point, Daniel. He definitely doesn't make any mention of him. You'd think that maybe he would get his name right, because he gets everyone else's name, but Harry doesn't say anything in that lesson. I don't think, and so Binns isn't given the chance to say his name incorrectly. But that's interesting. Would he have? You'd imagine he would have said Weasley correctly, because he doesn't say anything. Because obviously, Seamus is half Muggle born, isn't he? Neville's pure. Lamender, I have no idea. Dean is Muggle born, right? Because he's big into football. So, but he doesn't even attempt to say Mr. Thomas or Thomas. So yeah, I wonder if he would have been able to say Weasley, because Weasley's are obviously renowned. Malfoy's, I'm sure he'd be able to remember. Potter, I reckon that he would be able to mention it, remember him. Very good point, Daniel. Very good point. Thank you very much for your awesome comment. Paula, Sir Nicholas's 500th death day just happened to be on Halloween, October the 31st. Yeah, it says it on the cake. Says it on the cake. That's the same day Harry's mum and dad died. That is a coincidence, and it's also the same day the troll. This is what I was saying about earlier on, Paula. I wonder if there is actually something going on where Halloween is in a way cursed. Where things are more likely to go bad on Halloween. Maybe that is a thing in this universe. Thank you very much for your comment. Rebecca, the Death Day party really shows how kind Harry is capable of being. It sounds so grim. Despite all the excitement around the Halloween feast, Harry still gives it up to keep his promise to Nick. Yeah, because I don't think that Harry knows that it's on Halloween until after he's agreed to attend, doesn't he? So he is a little, because I think it does say about how he kind of wishes he was at the feast instead and watching the dancing skeletons. But yeah, very decent of him, and in fact Ron and Hermione, who he really doesn't know at all that well, because he knows it will make him happy, and also he's Gryffindor. I think that's probably a big factor. You know, he's a significant Gryffindor, and we know that Harry, more than anyone, takes Gryffindor absolutely to heart. It's absolutely his main pride, being a part of something after being a part of nothing for so long. And so I wonder if that's about because Nick is like the ghost representative of Gryffindor there, that he would absolutely go the extra mile for, and willing to, how can I put this? Not sell out, but yeah, sell out his freedom to Nick to try and impress Patrick. But maybe he didn't even pick up on that was what Nick was doing. I think that's what Nick was doing. Not only that, it shows that good friends Hermione and Ron are. That they chose to go along with him too. Yeah, I mean, they stay for a while. Then Ron's like, I can't take any more of this. And that's when they go as headless polo is going on in the background. Also, Professor Snape put Lockhart in his place. Excuse me, said Snape icily, but I believe that I'm the potions master at the school. One of the best bits of these chapters. One of the best bits of this chapters. I want to see that so much. It quite possibly my favourite thing ever. I agree, Rebecca. It's out of these 3 chapters that we've done today, it's absolutely one of my favourite moments. I thought it was great. I want to see it. I want to see it. Slimer. I'm sorry. I'm so pleased you're getting to listen to these little side quests, that's a good way of putting it, and stuff. Side quests are always the best part of video games, anyway. Going to the Death Day party really is a nice gesture on Harry's part. Did you notice that Peeves broke? Watch this space. Did you notice what Peeves broke? Is this the cabinet again? Maybe. Maybe that's what Catty was saying earlier on. Fascinating the way Dumbledore works things out whilst Lockhart rambles. Also, the first mention of squibs. I know, I thought they mentioned the first one, but they clearly couldn't have done. Because Harry didn't know what that word even means. Not sure many people think likewise, but I kind of like Professor Benz. Oh, I think he's adorable. The grasping for, I think is grasping for name and getting it wrong, as well as how annoyed he gets when he's asked to talk about mythology as a history teacher is amusing to me. It's great, and the fact that he's like kind of taken aback by the fact that people are actually interested in the lesson is amazing. I really hope that's him on Hogwarts Legacy, guys. Maybe you're going to be able to sleep through his lessons, or maybe do other things, much like Persona 5. Lockhart just acting out passages from his book rather than teaching anything useful is hilarious, even if it is humiliating to Harry. Absolutely. Hasn't that kid suffered enough? Exactly. Well, I guess in Lockhart's mind, he's thinking, okay, I've been given this job for a reason, and that's because I'm great. So I'm going to teach them how great I am, rather than actually show them how to defend themselves. Looking forward to listening to your reaction. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much. Lovely comment. It's a dance thing. I don't know, I need to say your name like that each time. You finally made it to the first chapter left almost completely out of the movies. I would love to have seen the Death Day party, I know, but I understand that it would have been a CG nightmare at the time, not to mention super expensive. That's actually probably a very big part of it as well. It probably is, and also you got to remember that after Lockhart says goodbye to Harry after detention, they see the writing on the wall there, so that is a chunk taken out of it. So And Chamber of Secrets is a long movie, guys, especially the extended edition. And so, yeah, numerous reasons why it had to be taken out, but I did think this would be one of the ones which people would really miss. I'm also curious, do you picture the actors and or hear their voices whilst you're listening to the audiobooks? I do, but only when the line from the book was in the movie. Otherwise, despite how good the actors are, I have my own image of that's interesting. Image of most of the characters. That's very interesting. It's a dance thing, because quite frankly, not everything that's visually represented in the movie is accurate. We were talking about Mrs. Norris earlier on, much earlier on. It's going to be another really long video. I do. You know what? McGonagall, I don't. There's probably others. McGonagall, I really don't. I see it as described in the book. Yeah, I see the McGonagalls being very different. I'm still imagining the original Dumbledore. Snape, I try not to, because I've been told that is an important way of looking at Snape in the book. I do with most characters. But yeah, McGonagall is definitely one which I don't. I'm not 100% sure why. I think because, I mean, there's a lot of very different characters in this, guys, but McGonagall, I do see as almost a different person. Hence what I was saying about earlier on about the fact that if Hermione asked that question in the book, I cannot believe that McGonagall wouldn't just say, shut up and get back to the lesson. Maybe not shut up. Bianca. Hello. I just want to thank you. These videos and debates give me so much joy. Oh, thank you so much. I am always hyped for them. You are very insightful. Thank you very much. I couldn't help but notice the background music. For me, everything by Jeremy Soule will have a Harry Potter feel because of the first Harry Potter PC game. I did hear that he did this. First 3 Harry Potter games. Awesome content and have a great week. Thank you so much, Bianca. Yeah, Jeremy Soule, just everything that I've experienced of him is just phenomenal, guys. Obviously with the Oblivion games, which is where not the Oblivion games, sorry, the Elder Scrolls games. The ones which I've played being Oblivion, Morrowind and Skyrim. I actually played Morrowind last, weirdly enough, just because I was so into the series. But yeah, his stuff is beautiful. It really is. Oblivion, human wizard. Morrowind, dark elf, roguish sort of character. Skyrim, Argonian tank with a massive warhammer. That's how it went for me in those series, guys. My Argonian's the greatest character of all time. Right. Gary. It's a small thing, but I really love the scene with Professor Binns getting all the students' names wrong. It's brilliant. It does make more sense that Hermione would ask their history or magic teacher to explain the Chamber of Secrets. Absolutely. And that goes into why I'm saying that book McGonagall wouldn't have done it. But movie McGonagall is such a caring person that she kind of wants to just fill them in the thing which, everyone is undoubtedly talking about and finding out from the books, and so everyone will know anyway. So it's a big difference, but I don't hate what they did with the movie. It does make more sense that Hermione would be rather than Professor McGonagall, like in the movie. Book McGonagall would probably have refused. Gary, you and me, kindred spirits. That's exactly what I've been saying this entire time. I completely agree, Gary. Nice work. I promise I did not read your comment before making this video. That's awesome that you made the same point, though. H. Some things I really like from these chapters. Can you taste it if you walk through it? Harry asked. Almost, said a ghost. I've got to do that voice because both Jim Dale and Steve Fry did. Said the ghost sadly and drifted away. Photographs of Lockhart on the wall, nodding in agreement with everything he says. I know, that's amazing. How weird it is to read parts of it's when you know Ginny's involved. I know, that's one thing. I don't think I would have picked up on it, but you do see little subtle hints around her, don't you? The fact that she loves cats and everything involved in it. Like when she seems terrified at a joke about it. Yeah. I mean, she's not having a particularly good first year, is she, at the moment? She's been ill. She's found out this cat and everything. Harry questioning himself, his identity, his personality. He's so invested in the whole thing about being Gryffindor. Take what I was just saying. So him thinking back to when the Sorting Hat thought about putting him Slytherin is interesting. That's another good point. Yeah, because they bring that up. They bring up the fact that, I mean, even Harry is doubting himself at this point. So I feel like the movie did a very good job at portraying that bit. But of course, we'll cover that hopefully. Not hopefully, but when Justin gets got, maybe we will see that scene where Ron and Hermione are clearly a bit freaked out by Harry. Sarah. This is my first time commenting on one of these. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get this video out. I like your reactions. You have a good insight. Always here for some of my here for some of my thoughts. Poor Filch has to put up with so much in these few chapters. It's true. I mean, not just the animal lovers, but I think anyone can tell this is not a good time for Filch. Which makes me so happy when you see him on the movie and his little face when he's like, it's not a smile, but it's the biggest, it's the closest that he can have, whilst holding Mrs. Norris. Such a sweet moment. Sorry, I keep going like this, guys. My moustache is playing havoc. I like Harry being reminded of Molly when Percy lectures Ron. Absolutely, though it really irks me when Ron claims that Percy doesn't actually care about Ginny being upset. He deserved to lose the 5 points for being rude. There we go, Sarah. Thank you so much for confirming the fact that Percy did take 5 points off him, and I completely agree. I don't believe that it's purely because of his reputation that Percy wouldn't turn them in. I think it is because he yeah, I'm really enjoying Percy in the book, guys. I really am. It's actually very different than I was expecting it. And I think that he is a team player when he comes to his family. I really do. So, Lockhart asks a student to get on the ground whilst he holds his arm, holds a wand to his throat and asks him to moan loudly. When you think about it, this class sounds very questionable. It does. Imagine Dumbledore walking in at that moment. Georgia, I'm so sorry if I say your name wrong. I really like Harry and Nick's relationship in the book. I agree. It's very sweet. I think the ghosts add a lot of colour to the castle that you don't really get in the movies. This is the non-plot essential stuff that brings me back to the books. I agree. It's padding that makes Hogwarts a comfy place to visit when reading. Yeah, and you know what? On the trailer, on the trailer for the original trailer for Hogwarts Legacy, there is a scene where you're clearly helping out nearly headless Nick. Presumably, if you're a Gryffindor, or maybe you're always helping out nearly headless Nick. Probably is the case. So we're going to get some more padding out on that as well, which would be great. I'm looking forward to that. Actually, I really am hoping to see the Fat Friar. He'll be there. Want to see the the Baron as well, and of course the Grey Lady. Also, sorry to anyone fighting for me to believe Snape is a good man who didn't get great pleasure from trying to catch Harry at something or deprive him from any joy he had in his life, like Quidditch. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Earlier on when I was saying about how Snape may have known what was going to happen with the Quidditch match, but I don't think so. Not if Dobby is the one who was responsible. It's a strange punishment, though. But again, if he's just out to get Harry, then it's a perfect punishment, isn't it? And obviously helps his team out. I don't believe it's simply a part of a well-done double agent act. I think he's a hero in a big picture, but very clearly hates Harry and enjoys tormenting him. Pardon me. I'm wondering if that is exclusively because of Harry's dad. I'm really looking forward to finding out about James and Snape, guys. In a weird way, I don't want to, it's going to be heartbreaking, I know that much. But yeah, it's that part of Snape thinking this is the, yeah. I wish we'd got more Quidditch, or at least one more of the teams together. It really helps establish Harry's bond with the members, particularly the twins. Absolutely. And in the book, the twins being the ones who really help Harry out until Harry tells them to go away. Add so much to them. Thank you very much for your comment. Predaguy. I like how Dumbledore doesn't even have to wonder who's opening the Chamber of Secrets again. He's already onto old Voldy. Just got to figure out how he's doing it. Yes, I guess that's regarding what he says at the end of the chapter. Yeah, the fact that he's already onto it and how it's happening. Because he's going to know that it's not Harry. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, we shall see. We shall see. I'm wondering if we're going to be having a Columbo moment like we did at the end of the first book, where Dumbledore will basically explain what's been going on. Maybe. We shall see. Oh, I always struggle to say her name. Trenny? I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at reading names. I really am. I love Hermione's scene with the Myrtle at the party. And poor Sir Nicholas being upstage at his own party. I know. I definitely preferred this introduction to Myrtle. I actually really did. And poor Sir Nicholas. I know. Poor guy. Completely getting ignored by the entirety of the crowd during his speech. Howa. I wonder how Filch... by the way, guys, this has 17 replies. I can't read the replies, unfortunately, but... This is another great thing about the book club, is that you can have, chats with everyone, differing in opinions and so on, and agreeing with people and everything. Obviously, always keep it polite, guys. This is a friendly place. Even if you disagree with someone, you can do it in a polite way. But thank you very much for, interacting with each other. It's awesome to see. I wonder how Filch ever became the janitor at Hogwarts. It seems cruel that he has to clean everything manually whilst teacher and presumably any older student could do it just by a flick of a wand. No wonder he's so bitter. I'm wondering if he's doing it because he feels safer around the magical community. Because that's what he would have been brought up in. And so for him to be anywhere else, I feel like that's probably it. Or maybe it's because of his family. Maybe his family were like, great wizards and everything. Very, very interesting to see if there's a Filch at Hogwarts. Oh my god, that would be awesome in Hogwarts Legacy. Maybe I'm wondering if that's to do with it. Or maybe he just feels safer around it. Or maybe Dumbledore's taken pity on him, taking pity. But the thing is, it's still a good job. It isn't, is it? Yeah, that's a very interesting point. One thing I really, really dislike about Harry, he has absolutely zero respect for other people's privacy. When I was reading the book recently, it stood out to me how often the plot moved forward by Harry eavesdropping on other people's conversation, reading other people's mail, and even worse invasion of privacy. I don't want to spoil anything. Okay, well, thank you very much. Yeah. Because he was absolutely about to tell Ron and Hermione about Filch being a squib when he was interrupted. Like I said, that is a kid being a kid. But it is cruel. That being said, Filch is... Is he let him off? Filch is not a nice person. This is the thing, is I love Filch. I think you all know that. But he's not a nice person, though. And so Harry may be getting some sort of joy from potentially sharing that information to Ron and Hermione. Same way that Ron sniggered when he was telling Harry about being a squib. I find it all character building. But yeah, it's certainly not shy. It's definitely not a nice light that Harry is. It puts Harry in. Harry had absolutely no right to read Filch's mail. And he doesn't even feel guilty about it later. Just like he didn't feel guilty about falsely accusing Snape at the end of Philosopher's Stone. On the other hand, yeah, that's the thing. Snape just disappears at the tail end of that story. In the book and in the movie. On the other hand, he doesn't feel guilty about stealing the Weasley's car. It's true. You get the impression that he probably does feel a bit bad about it in the movie. Although that being said, when he finds out that Arthur is going to be getting into trouble for it, it actually says that he feels terrible. That he's basically betrayed the first family that's actually been nice to him. So there are moments. But I guess in the panic that they were about the fact that the train is off, he overlooked that then. I really don't like the double standard and the message it sent out to the reader. It's like Harry thinks if he doesn't like someone, he's entitled to do whatever he pleases to them. I hope I don't have to explain how wrong that this mindset is. The fact is, even if Filch was the most unlikable person on Earth, it would still be wrong of Harry to invade his privacy. And wish J.K.R. had made it clear. End of rant. Sorry for such a long post. That's okay, Hoa. You were pushing, any longer would have been a bit much. But you're grand. You're grand. I will address specifically the mail. Filch's mail. Quick spell to Harry must sound like the most bizarre thing ever. The fact that there is this service where you can learn outside of Hogwarts about magic, presumably as adults. And so to him, it's more a curiosity of, wait, what's that? Because I think that he sees the letter is open. He doesn't think, oh, there's a letter, I'm going to open it. I don't think that's the case. I think that he sees that there's a bit sticking out, and then he starts to read it. I think that's correct. So I'm not trying to defend him, but I think that is the natural reason why he would have done it. I think that with the Weasley's car, it was a momentary adrenaline push, which later on he did feel bad about. But, he's eavesdropping a lot. He really is. That's one of his main skills in these stories so far. Great comment, Hoa. Lots to think about there. Thank you very much. Digo. Something I never thought about, but noticed this time around is the weird taste of music for ghosts. Yes, it's like screeching. Ron's like saying, is that meant to be music? I think he even says. The rotten food makes total sense since they can't really smell anything, and the decoration is just kind of fitting to the occasion with that is somewhat sad and happy at the same time. Yes, there's like black candles and things, aren't there? And so, at first sight, the music seems to be fit the picture. But if you think about it, why would you enjoy music that sounds like nails on a chalkboard? I mean, you're hearing it obviously fine, since they can normally talk to wizards and each other. I'm wondering if that's... I wonder, because obviously some deaf people can still lip read and everything, and some partially deaf people can make out words and everything through sight, through hearing. But I wonder, because they don't have eardrums, if physical eardrums, that their hearing is slightly impaired in some way. But you make a very good point about the music. I mean, even if they were slightly impaired, you'd expect that the music would just be louder rather than scratching. And they were living people before, so wouldn't it make more sense that they would enjoy regardless, but maybe outdated depending on how long they've already been dead? Music, yeah, well, it would be of the time as well, wouldn't it? So unless it's meant to be Harry's interpretation of the music, but I don't think that's the case, though. Also, I actually like that you don't read the replies to the comments, because this allows for spoilery discussion. Very good point. Very good point. In the replies without a risk of you reading them. That is a very good point. Thank you very much. I should have actually said that before, Digo. Anna Marie with the invisible icon. I love how they wrote the deaf party scene. I think it was a scene that would have allowed people to watch the movies and to understand the background of the Wizarding culture better. I also think it would make for a great Halloween event at the Universal Parks. Oh, absolutely. Pardon me. I need to stop burping. I'm so sorry, guys. That would be amazing. It gives me vibes of that. What's that Disney one called? Yeah, the haunted house in Disneyland and everything. Certainly gives me vibes of that with the waltzing and so on. Hillary. Cutting the scene with Peeves and the ghost is one of my least favourite things about the movie did. Yeah, I thought this would be the case. I completely understand that they had to remove or trim down characters for the sake of CGI, and that some of the scenes were extraneous plot-wise. But it's part of what makes Hogwarts lose some of its flavour for me. That's very true. It's these sort of, like... What's the term? Gimmicks isn't the right term, but this sort of... Well, like you say, it loses some of the flavour. That's the best way of putting it. Hogwarts is beautiful, awe-inspiring, and sometimes dangerous school. And scary, which is what this scene would have actually added to it. But in the books, Hogwarts is extremely chaotic and magical place that Harry views as a home first and a school second. I think the movies did a fine job and did the best they could, but they couldn't quite capture the magical essence Hogwarts has in the books. I'd love to see this an animation version one day. Exactly what I was saying about an animation earlier on there, Hillary. Yeah. Absolutely, that would be amazing. I'd be all up for that. Thank you very much for your awesome comments. Annette, the things I love most from these chapters that the movie left out are the change that Professor Binns explains the Chamber of Secrets, not McGonagall. The whole thing about the trio attending Nick's Death Day party because Nick saved Harry from Filch. That's actually a good point. The whole explanation about Filch being a squib. Best of all, how easy it was for Lockhart to sign the request form. Yes, absolutely. For the potion book, they needed it from the restricted area by playing to his ego. Absolutely. Well, I'm wondering if Hermione actually was playing to his ego. Because we know that she's a massive fangirl for him, so maybe it was her just being her. But yeah, very good point. And let's see how far down the list we are. Oh, we're right there. Oh, by the way, guys, check out my Hobbits thing. We're right there, guys. We're right there. Claire. It's a shame that the Death Day party scene was cut out of the movie. However, I do understand why they would cut it. As far as I can remember, it doesn't add much to the overall plot, and they do need to cut some of the things down in the film. Absolutely, which is why they literally summarise Filch's entire story arc in that first chapter down to Harry seeing a card on the floor and picking it up and giving it to Filch. It's a shame though, because I like any scene with Filch in. But. I'm sorry, guys. I want to make sure that I didn't just miss out. Yes, okay, Claire. I'm so sorry, guys. This has been a long video. I've been recording for many hours now. Yeah, I prefer the books, but I still love the films. That's the best thing, Claire. I still love the films as well. Because I know that some people refuse to watch some of the later movies. I think it's Goblet of Fire, particularly. Fear. It is a missed opportunity that Peeves was cut from the movies. He's such an interesting and funny character, and such an important part of Hogwarts itself. Going back to what the person says about the flavour. I'm so glad he will be in Hogwarts Legacy. Yes, we do see him briefly. What we believe to be Peeves. Keep up the great work, Veggie, and no worries about taking your time. I have taken some time this time. This whole project is worth the wait. Greetings from Germany. Thank you very much for a comment. I've kept you guys waiting too long for this one. I actually have, though. Tammy. What I like especially in these scenes is Lockhart's character, including his teaching methods and how they get the potion book. It makes sense that the book wouldn't just be available for every student. Yeah, absolutely. Also, we learn how to get a book in a restricted section. I love that they trick Lockhart into signing the permission, and that Hermione wanted to keep his signature. Again, I'm not sure if they tricked him. Well, I mean, they're lying to him. No, yeah, you're right. They are lying to him, but I'm not sure if there was actually hey, if we tell this guy he's great, then he'll give us a signature. No, it was more, this guy might give us the signature, and I'm also going to tell him that he's great. I think that's the way around that Hermione was actually thinking. Also, I love these little bits of side information we get. Like that there are rumours about dancing skeletons. Why Ron is afraid of spiders, absolutely, turning the teddy bear into one. And what Harry's defeat of Voldemort meant to the house elves. It adds so much to Harry Potter universe. And you know what, Tammy, I'm going to add on top of that. I love moments when we hear brands and book titles and things like that. They're like music to my ears. Finding about, like, you know, there's a book about this person who once did this crazy thing. And it makes me think, I really want to know more about that guy. Obviously, we will do in Fantastic Beasts with the character from Fantastic Beasts. No, I can't remember. I can't remember his name, the Hufflepuff guy. Oh, I can't remember. The guy who wrote Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Newt. It's Newt, isn't it? Newt. Damn it. Okay, guys, this has been another really long video. Start your comments to this video. If you got this far, start your comment with saying the guy from Fantastic Beasts' name. Don't explain why. Just say it at the start of your comment, and then have the rest of your comment. And then there'll be people like saying, what's going on? Why do people keep doing this? I did get in the first one, people like saying, why do people keep saying that? Because they hadn't watched the entire video yet. But yes, say Newt. I can't remember. It's not Newt Saunders. It's something like that. Either way, start your comment with his name and then put your comment on your thoughts on this video. That would be hilarious. And don't explain why. I can't wait for your thoughts on the Death Day party. It was fantastic. Hilly Willy. That is a fantastic name, by the way. It's absolutely brilliant. And Josh will round this book club edition to a close, guys. Fred and George blaming Oliver for Harry's stubbornness to catch the snitch, whilst being chased by rogue bludger is hilarious. It's very true. They basically say, I think the Woods did say, either catch the snitch or die trying, or something like that. And then, like, you know, one of Fred and George basically reprimands him for saying such a insane thing. But, you know, like I said, Wood was all smiles when Harry was being carried off to the hospital ward. So, amazing. And it adds to Wood as well. Nice to see more Wood in this, because obviously he's basically one and done in the movies, isn't he? Guys, wonderful edition of the book club. This is my favourite part of doing these videos. It really is. If you want to be a part of it, you can donate as little as you want and get a part of the book club, guys. There are going to be many in the future, of course. And I'm so sorry about how long this one took me, guys. I really am. I'm aware that, you know, especially with the patrons, I shouldn't be keeping you guys waiting this long. And so I will change that. I really am. I am really sorry about that. Either way, on to the next chapters. No idea what they're called, but we also know the storyline. I'm gonna sign off before I sneeze, guys. But thank you all so much for taking part in this. I love reading your comments so much, and even, like I say, even if you're just leaving your comments on the YouTube channel, I will have read them, and so I'd love to see your thoughts as well. Please like, subscribe, all of your stuff. I'm Veggie Gamer. Newt Swada. I'm the Veggie Gamer, and I'll see you next time.